my absolutely beautiful astrology soulmates, and welcome to your horoscope for February of 2025, where there is a lot of energy that is action-packed this month. So we're going to look back a little bit, we're going to look forward a little bit, and we're going to definitely break down what is going on in all of the days here happening in February. Now, the one thing I want to tell you is that we have a new feature that is going on in this video. I'm so excited to bring it to you. Not only am I going to give you a very good general overview of the transits that are happening for the month, so I encourage you to stick with me, listen to the entire general, but then of course you can click to the timestamps down below and look at your individual zodiac sign. Now, if you're newer to astrology, it might be easier for you to listen to those based on your rising sign. If you're a little more advanced and you really want the goodness out of it, listen for the vibrations that will also apply to your sun sign. But in the end, the very best astrology for you is your astrology. So making sure you have your natal chart, and if you don't, click in the description down below and come get one from me so that you can see where these transits are happening in your personal chart. That is the best astrology for you, so make sure you are checking that out. But now we've also got an absolutely brilliant new feature, which is the Mundane Minute happening with Dan Waits. There's a lot changing in the world, so I went out and asked Dan if he would do, especially for the soulmate tribe, a 1-minute breakdown about what is happening globally. What's the big picture energy and astrological signatures that are happening for the month in the world? And Dan only specializes in mundane astrology, so we have got some of the best at our fingertips here. And you can also find out a lot more by clicking over to Dan's channel if you like the Mundane Minute. And what this is going to enable us to do is to not only see the view that I will offer you so you can see how the energies are moving and where you have personal opportunity to take accountability or to move forward, move back with something, but also get your feet a little grounded into what is the global vibration. My hope is that this is going to be a little bit of an energetic changer for you and give you a lot more perspective and, of course, make the astrology really, really real. Now, before we jump into that and we see Dan's Mundane Minute that is beautifully done for us, I want to remind you that if you do not have your natal chart, please click in that description box down below and make sure you grab it. You want to have your own natal chart. But also, coming up in March, it is going to be time for the 5-day YouTube challenge. So if that is you, if you are a business that is already established, but you do not have a presence on YouTube, if you are a person looking to come up and create an income source for yourself, even if you are a very teeny tiny channel, that's where I specialize in showing you not only how to make your YouTube content, but to turn it into an income money-making machine for you. There are 13 streams of revenue that come off of this YouTube channel alone. And so whether you are new to YouTube, you've never done it in your life, you're big, but your finances are not where you like them, come and join my 5-day live YouTube challenge channel that I do a couple times a year. And so if that's you, there's limited space, jump in, the sign-up's in the description box down below. All right, beautiful friends, before we jump into the general of the month, let's see what's going on in a Mundane Minute.
Hi Stormy and everyone out there, this is Dan from World Astrology Report. And I'm here with a quick update on the world astrology of February 2025. The headline news for February has to be that Mars, the planet of action, assertiveness, and conflict, is stationing direct on the 24th of this month. Mars has been retrograde and moving backwards through the zodiac since early December last year. And when this happens, we tend to see the tables being turned and unforeseen problems and delays that change the nature of the game in politics and geopolitics. And that Mars retrograde station was a doozy. We saw the fall of the French and German governments and the collapse of the regime of Bashar al-Assad in Syria and the end of the war there after 13 years. And we saw a huge wave of sightings of what have been called mystery drones, or UFOs, depending on who you ask, over military sites in the UK and US and all over the world. And more recently, we've seen the LA fires. Mars may be retrograde, but is still very potent and in the state we call out of bounds, which means it's acting with less restraint than usual. But Mars will be stationing direct on February the 24th. And so around that time, expect to see action taken in response to the problems that the retrograde has thrown up. For example, there'll be an election for a new German government on February the 23rd, right at the direct station of Mars. I think we might also see new action taken in response to the LA fires and whatever caused them, and the weird drone sightings. things are probably going to get pretty chaotic in the wider world from this part of the year onward. There's a ton more I could say about the month, and if you find this stuff interesting, then I'm putting out regular videos on mundane astrology on my YouTube channel, World Astrology Report, and I'd love to see you over there. Have a great February, and see you again soon.
All right, friends, now let's take a look at what's going on in the February general transit energy. And the first thing that we want to do is we want to back up to actually what was happening on January 28th. There was a lot at the end of January that holds space for the signatures of what we're going to experience here in February, which is another really big lead up to what's happening in one of our biggest months of the year, and that is March this year. So back on January 28th, we had Venus move into its pre-retrograde shadow time. And this is important to be taking note of as we are coming into February, because as Venus is in this slowed down pre-retrograde shadow time at 24 degrees of Pisces, a couple things are happening here. First of all, as Venus is getting ready for this retrograde, it's starting to draw your attention to the things that you value. How do you value these things? It's going to start to help you reshape your value, your desires. You're going to start to look at how you draw things to you, how you let things flow into you and into your life. Venus is heavy in the business of stress reduction as well, but there has to be a relationship with the creative vibration of your being in order to tap into that flow of receptivity, of ease, of stress reduction. So as Venus is happening here at this 24 degrees of Pisces, you're starting to get your attention pulled to, how do I let things flow? And I want you to be paying attention to that as we continue to travel throughout the February vibration, because while Venus will move forward into this Aries energy, it's only coming to show us the degrees of what happens between January 28th and March 1st that you will be reviewing, because March 1st is when Venus is going to actually take that retrograde at 10 degrees of Aries. So knowing that we are coming into the month with that signature, I think is something for us to keep in our minds. Now, we're also coming in, of course, with Mars remaining in its retrograde and remaining out of bounds as we are traveling here in February. Now, Mars is going to come direct, but we can't miss out on the fact that we've got these two personal planets considered to be the lovers in the sky. Their dance is happening right now, and we've got Mars out of bounds, which means that the way that we act or we're reacting to things, the strategies that we're making to come up with solutions, need to be outside of the realm of how we would have normally done things. You know, it's almost this signature that it's like how you were doing it before, that strategy was not sufficient enough to bring about the results of what you desire, Venus. Now, as we're going to see these new strategies come into place, it will be as this Mars comes direct. But in the beginning portion of the month, it's still retrograde. So I'm going to ask you, what new strategies, what new behaviors are you seeing start to come to light? You know, one of the big questions I think with Mars retrograde, especially in Cancer, that I would ask you is, what did you find out over this last few months that you are tired of hurting about without there being any change? What have you found out that you are tired of hurting about? You are tired of having to resent the feeling over and over again? What are you sick and tired of being sick and tired of that is allowing you space to apply a new strategy based on new values that you'll also form here in March that is going to be able to help you build and protect your emotional foundation as we see Mars coming direct? Now, of course, the big news this month is that Mars is going to come direct. So it's also this signature that, again, those new strategies, those things that you've learned that you're like, I don't like the way that's going anymore, there's going to be a chance to apply those new strategies, have some of that energy move forward. As we've been traveling, you know, we get to about the end of January, and that's the midpoint of the Mars retrograde cycle, and the frustration and the intensity and the powerlessness can be at an all-time high. So there is, I think, some hope and some desire and anticipation for Mars to come direct. But remember, you're going to apply those new strategies that are a little bit out of bounds. Now, the other thing I want to bring your attention to before we get into the actual transits of the month is that, yes, I know it's February, and we don't actually enter into the official eclipse season until March, but those energies energies are in play right now as we're coming into February as well. That eclipse energy is building. And the eclipses are going to be coming to shake us out of old patterns, right? To redirect us towards the new paths that we need to get to. Now we see that the North Node is already traveling here in a massive Pisces stellium that is happening this month as well. So February is as important of a time, about 6 weeks ahead of the eclipse, to be asking yourself, are you moving forward in a way that is authentic, that is true, where we're not denying the issues we were having, and instead we're moving forward in a way that's also in alignment with your intuition, because this is what the eclipse is going to shake up. And there's going to be this absolute divide between are your actions and your beliefs. Are your values, are they in alignment with your values? What do you really value? And is it something that you can live and stand on in your present reality? So these are some energies where I'm telling you right now, we have a chance to be preparing for the transformation that will come with that. And a little bit of this I will cover in the North Node and South Node video that I'll do for you, okay? Now let's get in here and let's talk about what else February has to offer, because we are coming in with kind of a loaded sense of energy. But I think that there's a sweeter spot that we want to start out the month with, and that is right here on the 1st. So what we've got, first of all, is this beautiful Pisces stellium that's going on. We've got Neptune, Saturn, Venus traveling over here in Pisces. The North Node is over here in Pisces. So there's a lot going on in the Pisces vibration. But before Venus moves into Aries and gets on its way for the Aries transition, it's going to come into this beautiful conjunction with Neptune. So on the first day of February, I just want to make space to offer to you to fill your soul cup, to make space here on the 1st of February to take delight in your own heart. Take delight in being inspired. Take some kind of, life has to come with depth and delight. So make room for life to surprise and delight you. Make conscious effort here on the first days of the month to get into a position of enjoying being delighted by the world. Now the world is shifting so massively, and that Piscean energy can really intensify our dreams. It can intensify the empathy, the compassion, the sensitivity that we're feeling with everything. So there has to be a place where we trust the heightened intuition. Instead of staying in the powerlessness or the uncertainty of it, we trust that heightened intuition to take us to places that are inspired. And this is a time to just fill that soul cup, okay? Now, as we get to the 3rd, we're going to see that Mercury and Jupiter come into a trine with one another. And I talked about this in the weekly video. But as Mercury and Jupiter come into this trine, this is an energy of communication. It's communication, communication, and it's in air energies. We've got Mercury over in Aquarius. We've got Jupiter over in Gemini. So we are communicating. And I think it's a revival. Honestly, I think that this is a revival of intellectual expansion, of how we communicate, what we're communicating about. There's a curiosity to what we're communicating about. So it's not like, I just think I know everything, or mine is the only position. There's just this space where there's opportunities for growth here by being curious about maybe what an opposite perspective has to do, what an opposite perspective believes in, right? So there's just a beautiful energy here to, I think, from doing the things that inspire you, filling that soul cup and opening the space around you for different kinds of communication, or for even different kinds of music or inspiration to come into your space. We have this opportunity to just change the way we are engaging the world around us. And that is a really cool place to be. Now, when we get to the 4th, we're going to see that Venus is going to move into the vibration of Aries. Okay, so as Venus is moving into this Aries energy, first of all, remember, we're going to see this again because Venus is going to come in that retrograde when we get into March. It's going to come back over this point. So you're still in this review of everything that was happening from January 28th, and this is going to be a part of that story as well. But as Venus enters into the vibration of energy, Venus is not a hustle hard planet. Venus is an attracting and only planet. Attraction, call to me, pull to me, ease out. Venus heavily in the business of stress reduction. I want to make things easier. So as Venus is here in Aries, there is a passion, there is a boldness, and it's going to come into our relationship space, our finance space, our value space. So one of the things that we can see is that if you're feeling in terms of these areas and what you value, you're feeling a bit more independent, or you're feeling a bit more provocative, or like you want to be proactive. Let's say you decide, I want to initiate a relationship, or I want to put myself out there for some kind of relationship, or I want to negotiate a financial deal to a way that I think is a little bit better for me. I want to change my personal style. There's a lot of confidence that goes with this. But what you want to remember when we're working with that Venusian energy is to call it to you. Call it to you, right? Step out so that the energy knows that you're available for engagement, but then let it come to you. The trick or the temptation, I think, with Venus in Aries can be, I'm going to go out and like knock it over the head and make it come to me. And that impulsivity can actually exhaust your Venusian energy. Instead here, what we're looking at is to not overstimulate Venus. Let it be the charm and bring back to you. Pace yourself, align your actions with what you really want, with what you really value, because when you create your value container and you point those hips at it, it's going to start to come to you, okay? On the same day, we're going to see Jupiter come out of retrograde at 11 degrees of Gemini. So make sure you're locating that 11 degrees of Gemini on your chart. Now, as Jupiter has been retrograde, it first of all has called us back into looking at what we already know, what's genuinely in our natural knowledge base, right? Because there's wisdom, but we only get wisdom through experience. So sometimes we've needed to experience some very Jupiterian things that bring lessons into our life that make us change our philosophies, that broaden our horizons, broaden our perspectives, so that we see the world differently. Our worldview is changed. So as Jupiter has been retrograde, we've been relooking over this area of our Gemini portions of our chart. And now as Jupiter comes into this direct motion, this Gemini area is going to get some restoration of momentum, right? The intellect gets restored. What information have we given? Have we gathered? Have we looked over? Travel. Where do you want to travel? And travel is a very big word anymore, because you can travel by just going online. You can travel by getting in a plane, train, automobile. But all areas related to communication and the expansion of communication are now going to have this momentum moving forward. So any delays that you've had, delays in travel, in education, publishing, networking, legal things, these things are now going to have that lift of energy and allow for them to move forward and go to their next expansion. As we get to the 12th, we've got our lunation for the month. Now, this is the full moon that is happening at 24 degrees of Leo. This lunation is not only the full moon that's going to ask us to end something, acknowledge something, and make an adjustment. We need to celebrate what we've built, but also pivot. Okay, but this lunation is also in a square to Uranus in Taurus. So first of all, in the vibration of Leo, we are looking at these concepts and these conceptions of self-expression. And with Leo, it's not just about, I'm expressing myself, I'm saying something. It's that I'm saying something with my shoulders back, my chest up and out, and I'm clear about how I'm expressing myself. I'm clear about how I'm expressing my creativity. I am bringing a level of confidence into the space. And because it's based out of a lot of pleasure, play, self-love, and respect, it's based out of fire, right? I deserve to be able to have my voice be heard. So these conceptions here, depending on where this is at in your chart, this is going to be a time where I think this full moon brings this moment for you of personal revelation, where you might feel the space where you're like, it's time for me to step into the spotlight. It is time for me to say that. It is time for me to take this creative risk. It is time for me to do this, even though it requires me to break free from what the expectations, even if they're only my expectations, have been. It's time to step forward. For example, let's say that you get recognized. you're doing something that is so normal to you, and someone recognizes that talent in you, and you realize, yeah, I do have this talent. I do have this to offer confidently out in the world as a gift. Or if you've already known you had the talent and now it's time to be seen, right? Sometimes we can run into that. I'm afraid that I'll be seen. Yes, you should be seen. If you do that the best, if that is your skill, if that is your gift, yes, you should be seen. Come on, bring it up out of here. Or maybe you're ready to make a career move that is really bold for you, really takes it in a different direction. For some of you too, I think that this will be that place where you really just find yourself going, I just want to put this old version of me down, and I'm ready to kind of step out and let this other version of me be seen. Now, the square happening to this lunation of Uranus and Taurus brings the unexpected. So first of all, when Uranus gets involved, we need to, on the 12th here, be flexible. We need to be flexible because Uranus and Taurus is going to bring unexpected shifts, unexpected surprises in terms of our material security, in terms of our relationship security, finances, relationships. These things are going to have an impact in how or why you are stepping out. You know, it is no surprise, it is not on accident that March will bring you the 5-day YouTube challenge, because you have something to say, and that something can have massive value in your life, especially as the world is changing and the traditional 9-to-5 might not be enough. So we want to create a space where there is something new or innovative that you can take advantage of. So the energy here, though, is unpredictable, and I just encourage you to make space for breakthroughs, make space for surprises, and just stay flexible. Now, when we get to the 14th, we're going to see Mercury move into the vibration of Pisces, and on the 18th, the Sun is going to officially bring us into Pisces season. So happy birthday to the Piscean friends. But as we're going to see, this is going to create an action-packed Piscean area. We've got Mercury in Pisces. We've got the Sun in Pisces. We're going to have a new moon in Pisces, Saturn's in Pisces, Neptune's in Pisces, the North Node's in Pisces. And we are going to see this action-packed stellium of energy, this Piscean signature, happen again when we get later in the year. So this is not even the last time we're going to be under all of this energy that is amplifying introspection, amplifying creativity, amplifying having to trust. It's going to amplify faith. It is going to amplify the concepts of what do you call a higher power? Where do you go to? What is the well that you dip into? It's going to amplify concepts of rest. Where do you have a relationship with rest, with ease, with spiritual practices, creativity, play, renewing yourself? I do think too that a piece of this signature, and we'll have to ask Kira since she's our resident medical astrologer, but I think that all this Pisces energy is also bringing us to a place where we need to ask questions about parasites. Things like parasites, whether these are parasites in our family, whether we're the parasites and we're munching off the life force of others, parasites in the intestinal tract, something like that. I think these are going to be some medical concepts that come up for us as well. But as we're looking at this Pisces season and the Pisces signature, the other thing that I think is really pronounced is needing to look at where we have to have not just the compassion, but the forgiveness, the surrendering of the old stories, the forgiveness of ourselves for the lives that, maybe you wanted to live a certain kind of life and it hasn't come to fruition, and you need to forgive yourself and set the old dream down and pick up a new one, right? There is just so much about the compassionate work that I think is really pronounced here. The shadow side of this Piscean season and this Pisces signature can be, of course, escape, avoidance, and all of these bad words or not fun words that we know can come with Pisces. But I think it's also a space where it can make something look so much better than it is. And you're out there just putting it on a pedestal, really investing in it, and it is not the thing. Now, where I think this will be very helpful and we can get a lot of clarity tweaked to us is going to be during the Venus retrograde that happens in March. So before you make some really big investment in something that has no direction, or it just shows up magically at your front door and it's like, I'm the right thing, I would say take small but practical steps to investigate what's coming to you, towards what's going to lead you towards your vision. And then you can feel a little bit more certain that it's a bit more grounded. And that's going to be great because when Venus comes direct, it's going to come direct next to Saturn. So you can be sure that what you're investing in then is going to be really, very good. Now, kind of stay open to it. Heal what you can, surrender what you can, and then be able to move yourself forward and trust that intuition. Just because the world said something is supposed to look, be, feel, have a certain direction, if your intuition is saying that's not the right direction for me, I think that your intuition is a lot more sound at this time. So take those small practical baby steps, pull it together with the intuition, and I bet the vision comes out nicely balanced. Now on the 27th, that new moon that's happening in Pisces is going to be square to Jupiter, but the new moon is going to be your opportunity at 9 degrees of Pisces to plant your seeds of intention. It's a powerful start. It's a powerful fresh start. It's a powerful fresh start for your dreams, for your spiritual intentions, for your creative space, for your healing, for your restoration, for forgiveness, for putting, things that you're working on behind the scenes, including, I think, some karmic work, putting it to rest. So I was thinking of this example when I was just envisioning the new moon around this astrology. It's like, maybe you're setting your seeds of intention at this lunation for healing. You're setting it for healing. First of all, I think you have to be clear on what does healing mean to you? How will you know that you're healed? What is going to be your indicator that you are healed or to the other side of what you're asking for? Because if we're manifesting this new direction of our life and healing and these kinds of things, but there's no clear vision of what, I've reached healing looks like, how will you know that you're there or that you're on the right path? So there is a little bit of clarity to be happening here. Now, for some of you too, if you're finding that in this Piscean energy, a deep calling towards something else and it's maybe not so traditional or it's not what you would have done before that, this deep calling for a different kind of goal is presenting itself through you, you might plant your seeds of intention for the clarity to be able to move that forward. Now, the square to Jupiter, which is one of the ruling planets of Pisces, gives me the suggestion that does say here, this is great. This is a mutable square, so you could be worrying about it or overthinking what you're doing here a lot. But instead, it's like there's a need for balance and inspiration, but there's also a need for practicality. We need to ask a lot of questions. There has to be some kind of structure that comes in place here to allow the dream to happen. So I think that as long as it's not, let it be overly idealistic. Whatever you're feeling called to, let it be overly idealistic, and that's fine. But make sure that there's some kind of practical steps and questions you can ask as you're getting this vision to come to be, and then you can expect that your results are going to be a lot stronger. I would not expect immediate results with whatever you are planting your seeds of intention for at this particular new moon. And the other thing I will say, because this is a square to Jupiter, is taking on too much. Maybe you've had this big release. We're getting ready to have Mars come forward as well. We're going to talk about that. But you're like, I'm ready to go. I've been on hold. I've been ready to just jump things forward. I'm ready to go right now. And you take on too much. What I just want to say here is just ground the dream, the vision, the calling with some practical, actionable steps. Now, going back to February 20th, Mars is turning direct. And I do mean every ounce of that. Listen. We have been doing this Mars retrograde for a minute. And this has been us, first of all, it's action on pause, right? So depending on when you're listening to this, if it's before February 20th, maybe you can resonate with me that really, especially end of January, that frustration, that powerlessness feeling of I can't really get anything to move forward, that's the midst of the Mars retrograde, right? And it's been more about finishing what already is. Get off of your table what already is, what has been, get it done so that as Mars comes forward, you have either a different perspective or a different strategy to help that thing move forward, or your table is clear for new snack items to come to it, right? So as Mars comes direct here in this vibration of Cancer, first of all, I am hoping that you are feeling reignited, with a little bit of energy in terms of all of the Cancerian spaces, your home, your emotional and internal foundations, your domestic relationships, resentment. I hope that you are feeling like there's been some emotional healing, or there are at least some new strategies and steps to take towards emotional healing. Because if we are carrying resentment in our body, we cannot make our bodies coffins for unprocessed resentment. We cannot do it. It's going to make you sick. It's going to live in that sacred pelvic bowl, right? We just can't do it. And in any place where you have felt stuck, taking action, this shift provides that movement forward. But we need to also remember, again, that Mars is out of bounds. So the steps and the actions that we're going to move forward have to be actions and strategies that are really different. They may be, you've just gotten tired of hurting, stressing, worrying about a particular thing, and you've found some ways to bring some healing, but it's going to take some different actions on this side, and they're a bit uncomfortable. That is the right place for this. But Mars is still Mars, and Mars out of bounds means it's got free reign of the terrain. So we do also need to be mindful of how emotionally reactive and forward focused now Mars can be. So you can be really forward focused and you are letting frustrations boil over, and now it's turning into bigger conflict. It can feel like people are launching emotional rockets at you, and or you're the one doing it. And instead, as Mars is coming direct, we recognize its out of boundness. We use this energy constructively by channeling it into places we can actually make positive movement forward, whatever that happens to be. And for those of you too who have felt like your body, like literally your body energy has been stuck, I think that this Mars direct is going to be really, really helpful with this energy as well. Now, Mars will not completely leave its post-retrograde shadow time until May. So this is a step forward. And the whole month is step by step. We need step by step, practical, actionable solutions that get us into the positions that we would like to experience. So this month, I want to encourage you, stay big, but be grounded. Enjoy, bring in, welcome in those breakthroughs in relationships and around work. Open up your space to new financial and personal directions that are going to be available to you, and realize that February is the time for your visionary to come to the surface with all of that Pisces energy. Trust your intuition. Trust that intuition. Trust that creative flow that's being called to you, but don't forget to build your solid foundations underneath you. All right, my beautiful friends, click into the description box down below and see what's going on for your individual sign. I love you guys so much. Have a beautiful February, and I'll see you every week, and I'll also see you in March. Beautiful Aries, and happy February. Welcome to the month where your ruling planet is going to go direct. It's not going to come back in bounds, and it is not out of the post-retrograde shadow time, but we do have some energy where you're going to be able to move forward and I think feel a little bit more vital as we get closer and closer to the end of the month. But let's start off at the beginning of the month. We've got Venus coming into your sign. Now, this is absolutely brilliant because wherever Venus goes, first of all, it becomes a harmonizing and an attracting energy. So lighting up your first house space here, Aries, we see that Venus is going to give you the opportunity to really energize your sense of self, right? It's time to express what you truly want and not boldly go after it, but boldly call it to you. Allow yourself to become the attractive vibration of what you want to have in your real life, right? And this urge that might be there to kind of reinvent yourself or redecorate yourself, I think that's a better way to say that, whether it be a new fitness regimen or you're like, I want to try a different style. You want to say something a little bit more directly about your needs in a relationship. This is the time where this energy where Venus is traveling here can really be to your benefit. And it's such a joyous transit. It is such a joyous transit. So let joy, let things being social, let you being someone who's magnetizing and attractive be a part of your schedule in your daily life here, The one thing I will remind you, Aries, is that the shadow side of Venus in Aries is that while it inspires this beautiful confidence, it can also really manifest being self-centered in our behavior, or you're running towards something very impulsively, but it's very much so, it's not about others. It's just about instant gratification. So just be mindful, balance what you're finding and what you're calling to yourself with some kind of empathy and consideration for other people, okay? Now, we cannot get past the fact that we are going to have this absolutely delicious full moon happening in Leo. And this is going to be happening February 12th. And I think that this particular lunation for you is exciting, not only because it lights up this fifth house space, but it might bring a lot of unexpected expenses. It could be expenses, but it could be expenses that have to do with creative project, or expenses that have to do with maybe a child or a romantic partner or something like that. And you are needing to, you're surprised. You are quite surprised. Now, the other thing is, because it is in this connection with Uranus, it's this reminder that even if there's a bit of instability in things that feel really significant to you, right? This is about you expressing yourself, expressing what you need, asking for help where you need it, giving you the energy in your life to approach situations in really different ways. But I have no doubt that this particular lunation will also have a bit of an impact to your budget. So I just want you to pay attention to that. And instead of having this emotionally volatile reaction that leads you to, act out and you're rebelling in fear, or really going overindulgent in something that you're spending, or something like that. I just want you to have an opportunity, as best you can with Uranus, to pause and consider whether your choices are truly in alignment with what your long-term values are. And then you can feel a lot more confident in making those steps forward, okay? Because it is important to note that this transit, as patient as we can be, Uranus just shows up like electricity, and you don't always know if you're going to get struck or what that's going to bring to the table. Now, as we get to the 18th of the month, we're going to roll into Pisces season. And so this is one of the themes for your chart that really brings our attention back to not only rest and rejuvenation, but it's also going to bring yourself back to the place where you have mental health and mental clarity. So as Mercury comes into Pisces there on the 14th, and then the sun rolls into Pisces for the season as well, I really would love for you to engage this as your own time of renewal, spiritual renewal, a time for maybe you're looking at a more mindfulness practice. Maybe you're volunteering or you're being of service in some ways, maybe it's time for a little bit of a retreat, whatever that means for you. But also it is really a time that is spotlighting, I think, for you, your relationship with whatever you call a higher power. And there's no need to go out and be like, oh, it's not right, I'm not perfect, I don't have a great relationship with rest, or I need to work on my mental health, I have to fix it all today. It's not that at all. It's something about looking at how small adjustments, tiny little bit over time, create really big changes. And it makes me think about stretching, bringing stretching into your life as well, right? Is there something about you're used to going into the gym or moving your body, Aries, in a way where you're going hard. And it's really, you just need a little bit of yoga, and you need to week by week increase that stretch. Week by week increase that depth, right? Now, if you're not a yoga person, skip that, okay? But it's this idea that your renewal doesn't have to be stressful. Now, I am mindful too that Pisces season, depending on how you're experiencing it, can bring up feelings of isolation. It can bring up feelings of overwhelm. So if you feel like you're struggling with this sense of, maybe feeling a little bit isolated, or feeling like you deeply want to avoid responsibilities or other people, or if you're even feeling like you're a bit invisible, I just would encourage you to remember that healing is about balance. How do you rest without totally withdrawing? How do you go in and work on that project behind the scenes without staying in the cave for longer than is necessary? Okay, so try to make some adjustments that feel in alignment with your intuition as well. Now, when we get to the 23rd, Mars is coming direct in that vibration of Cancer. So it's kind of like, we think about some of the practices from the Native Americans. They talk about being a hollow bone, just being a place where the energy can flow through that bone. But sometimes we get a blockage, or something is stuck, or it's in the way. We feel like we can't quite move something forward. Now, as Mars is coming direct in this vibration of Cancer, first of all, it's going to bring your attention to all things having to do with home, family, real estate, property. So in one way, I do think February actually has you on the move in terms of something around your home or your family, but it's also a space where, if there have been these lingering family tensions or domestic tensions and things like that, you're going to be in more of a space to be active about them. Have an open, honest conversation. You have the energy to reorganize your kitchen, finish the bathroom, whatever it is that needs to be done. But it's like the energy is somehow freed up for you to be able to do that. Now, still to the shadow side, Mars in Cancer, because it is still out of bounds, can have you being a bit more emotionally reactive, especially when dealing with things that have to do, of course, with your family or your housing or your living situation. So, these spaces of feeling like you want to lash out or you're taking things too personally, again, the practice is remembering you're a spiritual being. Your outbreaks and your joyousness are all one and the same, but focusing now with that Mars direct on nurturing the connections that you have rather than just feeling frustrated and letting them boil over is going to be so much more to your benefit. And I think during the Mars retrograde as well, you had the opportunity to look at what kind of beliefs and behaviors and strategies you were using that weren't actually to your greatest good, right? And so now you get to behave in a way that's a little bit more like you've outgrown those things. As we're going to close out the month on the 27th, we've got the new moon happening at that 9 degrees of Pisces. Again, it's in square to Jupiter. So this new moon is again lighting up your rest and renewal space, Aries. Okay, but you can plant your seeds of intention around that healing, around spiritual growth. For example, maybe you decide you want to commit to starting a gratitude journal, or you want to get regularly into some kind of therapy or some kind of, restorative practice in your life in some way. The square to Jupiter is going to encourage you to, no matter what you do, be in a space where you're actually sharing your insights, sharing what you're learning, sharing in terms of generosity as well. Now, whether that's a trusted friend or a mentor or some place where you're looking to have accountability, but also share what you're learning is what this new moon, I think, can really bring into your spirit, because it's also going to bring the healing that comes with it. Now, this is still a square to Jupiter, which is larger than life, so it can amplify unrealistic expectations. So I would highly encourage you not to overpromise yourself or over expect something from yourself or others, right? Just to be like, okay, it's all going to work out. Like, don't create a false sense of optimism by overdoing it. Instead, don't take on too much too soon. Just be cautious. Set small, manageable, delicious goals with new information that has come to you and allow that to be perfection. Your aim for perfection is eating this one little bite at a time. All right, my absolutely beautiful Aries friends, I hope this month allows you to see where you've got a bit of freedom of energy, where you can move around, where you might have some holdups as well. However, just keep in mind that as we're getting ready for Mars to come out of this retrograde this month, that the energy goes up and up and up in terms of you being able to really use your new actions going forward. We'll see Mars come out of that full retrograde shadow time when we get to May. So we've still got a bit of time, but you do have some good energy at your feet this month. All right, beautiful Aries, have a great month and let us know in the comment section down below how it's going. Hello, my beautiful Taurus friends, and welcome to February, where Taurus this month, your ruling planet Venus is going to move into the vibration of Aries. But before it does that, just right before it does that, it's going to make this really beautiful, sweet connection with Neptune in the vibration of Pisces. And this is actually going to start off the month for you. So this is a lot of va-va-voom that actually is available in your energy as you're coming into the month. One of the things I want to tell you is that, a way to really work with and honor this particular transit is to, first of all, Taurus, get back to what nourishes your own being, right? Go back to what nourishes your spirit. Go back to looking at, are you supported in a tribe or a grouping of friends or people that really resonate with filling your cup, and allow you to do the same back to them, right? This is a lot of question of, what is really nurturing you in a collective way, but also speaks to you spiritually. So we're starting off the month with some really delicious energy just right there for you. Now, just after that, we are going to see that, of course, Venus moves into the vibration of Aries, and this lights up that 12th house space for you. And this is a transit this month that is such an invitation to you, Taurus, to first of all, to look at and have this deep reflection on not only your relationships, all the Venusian concepts, right? Relationships, self-worth, your desires, but also looking at where you may be over self-sacrificing in some way, or you've got maybe a secret resentment. There's some kind of holdback that's been happening here that is stopping you from really drawing to you the way Venus just calls things into it, right? It's stopping your healing. It's stopping your freedom. You've got an old or outdated pattern of belief or something like that, and it is stopping you. So, something else that I want you to think about while Venus is transiting here is that it can be such a delicious transit, but because it's your ruling planet, it is bringing a lot of power in terms of paying attention to the hidden feelings that surface during this transit. Because Venus in Aries, it can trigger something that feels very impulsive, but you realize it's coming from an outdated pattern. And in order to kind of resist that urge to withdraw and be really defensive against something and being in isolation as opposed to rest and restoration and taking care of your spirit and taking care of your skin and your hair and taking care of that inflammation in your body and all of these things, it can actually put you in a position where you're just really impulsive. So you want to be mindful of that, okay? Now, also on the same day that we're going to see that Jupiter comes direct in the vibration of Gemini, and this is lighting up your second house space. Now, Jupiter's direct motion here, Taurus, in your second house is about clarity. It's about expansion to your finances, to that self-worth. We've also got Venus, that ruling planet, working behind the scenes to help you soften anything that you need to see in these areas as well. So as Jupiter has come direct here, you could see this manifesting as receiving some kind of income. Maybe you land a new job, or you're finally feeling a bit more confident in your ability to manage your resources. For example, maybe you decide that you're going to actually go ahead and launch that side hustle, or you're going to save, or you're going to invest. You're going to do something like that because during the Jupiter retrograde, you kind of got your feet and your wisdom underneath you. Now, the shadow side, depending on where you land, is just flat out overindulgence. It's overspending. You're feeling very optimistic about things. You're like, yes, this money is going to come to me, but you're spending money you don't have. Instead, I just want to remind you, use what you've learned during the Jupiter retrograde and focus on sustainable growth, and try to resist that temptation to take any kind of financial shortcut that's not actually going to be of long-term benefit to you, okay? Now, we've got a full moon that is really going to rock and roll you this month, I think, because the full moon is happening at 24 degrees of Leo. So in the general, this lights up your fourth house space, but it is squaring Uranus that is in your sign, so that first house energy. Now, the full moon gives us the opportunity to end something, acknowledge something, or to adjust something. It's illuminating these emotional themes, but they're around home, family, real estate, property, your roots, and squaring against this Uranian energy. If there has been any kind of tension in this area of your life, you can expect it to present itself. You can expect this lunation to kind of rise those to the surface, or you have a swift change of plans, or it feels like suddenly something had to be really different. Now, I do love that Uranus in Taurus could also make it so that you're like, no, I just need to redecorate. I need to get my space together. I need this to be a place that I feel like nourishes me, that matches my current vibe. All of those kinds of energies is definitely what could also be pointing to you to help you reshape this sense of self. But I would also just expect some unexpected news or some kind of disruption in the family zone, okay? And it doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. It just adjusts the plan quite a bit. Okay. Now, when we get to the 18th, we're actually going to see Pisces season taking over, having just had Mercury moved into Pisces as well. But Pisces season, the sun here brings light, heat, life, and vitality. And into your 11th house, this is highlighting your friends, your social groups, social media, the people you call your tribe, your social connections, but also your own aspirations, What do you want? What do you want for yourself? What do you want to be known as? So this can be a season for you that is great to align with the groups the causes, the tribe that you feel like really resonate with your values, but not just like, the value of how you want to make money, but the value of what do you value? What is your spirit value? Is this a time for you where you're actually looking for a deeper soul tribe and you're looking for it beyond the level of just romance, right? You're looking for it in a place where you're like, I maybe want to take a leadership role in a community project, or I want to go to a networking event that connects me with like-minded people. So this is a great season for you to really realize what a highlight you have on you in terms of organizations and groups and communities that are around you. The one thing I would say during Pisces season, although it sits in a wonderful energy with yours, is stay grounded in your personal vision of what you'd like to achieve. So that way you are really aligning with the right people. And this theme will be repeated and brought more to the surface for you as we have this new moon at the end of the month at 9 degrees of Pisces. And this particular moon is actually square to Gemini as well. So there is a little bit that is about, hold on, don't overextend yourself, especially in terms of a social or a financial life, right? You might feel really tempted, Taurus, to say yes to too many projects or to expect too much from some kind of group project, group venture, friendship, social media thing. Stay realistic, stay grounded. And that way you kind of ensure that your goals are more sustainable. But the other thing I want to bring your attention back to, Taurus, is that so much of this year is a huge focus on how do you receive? How do you receive? How do you let things come to you? How do you lean into your Venusian energy? And we do this from an energetic and a spiritual space. So this new moon, I think, is an invitation for you to set your seeds of intention for long-term dreams and social goals. But whatever the alignment is, it's about you learning to be in these social connections, whether it's a mastermind group or you do something where you crowdfund or you're doing collaborations of any variety. It's about learning to be in these collaborations to teach you how to just let energy come to you, let things come to you. Now, I do think that square to Jupiter in the second house, it does suggest to me that there is an opportunity for financial growth here. But again, it needs to come through some kind of community effort. Maybe it's a same community connection that you already have, but now an idea is more innovated and you're letting it come to you. You're not fighting it. All right, beautiful Taurans, make sure you have listened to the general reading at the beginning of this video so you make sure you get all the gushy details. And of course, I will be with you every week so we can get even further in depth into what is going on in the astro for the year for you. All right, Taurus, have a great February. Beautiful Gemini friends, and welcome to February. We're Gemini this month. I love it because as we're coming into the month straight away, we've got your ruling planet Mercury, not only not in any kind of shadow time, it's direct, it's living its best life, and it is going to form this beautiful trine with Jupiter on the 3rd here. And I love it because as we're coming into this month, not only are you one of our signs that has the gift of word magic being ruled here by this beautiful mercurial energy, but this energy is so much about all forms of teaching, listening, communication in general. So if you've got to give a presentation, you're taking a class, whatever it is, this is really so much in your favor. And for my writers out there, song creators, website designers and builders, this energy is so beautiful for you. Now, just behind that, we're going to see, of course, that Venus enters into the vibration of Aries. And for you, this is going to light up your 11th house space. So this is so much about groups and organizations for you. This is a real highlight for you, Gemini, on your friendships, your community, who you are involved with and surrounding yourself socially so that they also help you get to what you aspire for yourself, right? So if this is a time where you've been feeling this call to strengthen your connections with like-minded people or finding different individuals who you can collaborate with and you guys turn something into a bit of a group project in some way, this is a great time. So if you joined a new social organization or you decided to maybe even reconnect with an old group of people, but you're doing it in a different way. Now you have a shared goal. Something to really think about is how could that work in your benefit? Now, we're also going to see on the same day that Jupiter is turning direct in your sign. This is brilliant. Jupiter's direct motion here in your first house. First of all, I think it's a really nice surge of optimism. I think it's a nice surge of confidence, maybe even really looking at where you are in your personal growth, because we have to look back and say, okay, go back into 2024. And what did last year teach you about what where you can grow, what you have the capacity for, where you can expand, and where you've got to minimize or cut something out of your life because it's not working. So now as Jupiter is direct, this is a time to embrace those opportunities that self development brought you, because you are now self-improved, right? And so where can you expand with that? So, I have this vision of you. Maybe you are even starting your own personal development course, or you're helping people through something, or you're exploring a new hobby because of the way that you are developed now. Either way, Jupiter here also is a signature that you are taking a leadership role in going out and approaching these things. Maybe it's your community, maybe it's this new group of people, whatever it is, but you are going out there. The one thing we want to be mindful of with Jupiter always is overconfidence and arrogance. So just keep those in the bag, okay? Now, I think a really important lunation for you is happening right here at this full moon at 24 degrees of Leo. All right, this lunation is also squaring against Uranus that is in Taurus. Now, the full moon gives us the opportunity to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment, okay? It's going to bring a fair amount of clarity as to where we need to pivot. But for you, Gemini, this is all around communication, learning, and community. So there's definitely this thought here that you might have a breakthrough in how you express yourself, or how you receive unexpected news that really makes you shift your perspective. Okay, so for example, let's say you discover you have this hidden talent for writing or public speaking or something like that, or you're gonna resolve some kind of lingering conflict that's been going on with a sibling or a neighbor, and they bring you this information. But that Uranian energy, especially there in the 12th house space for you, could create a mental tension that feels like disruption to you. You have these restless thoughts, or this sudden urge to just escape reality, or it's like an emotional outburst. Instead, I would encourage you, use this energy to explore an innovative Uranian way of how to think about these new ideas. And maybe to avoid acting impulsively or letting the sub or unconscious fears take over and put you in a position that you don't really want to be in, right? So much of this has to do with how you communicate. So maybe just letting it bubble to the surface what you need, where you need to pivot or correct, and then being able to say that out loud. Now, Mercury, your ruling planet, on the 14th is going to move into Pisces, followed by the Sun bringing in Pisces season on the 18th. And then we will also have the new moon happening in Pisces. So all of this really lights up your 10th house space of career. So first of all, Mercury coming to your 10th house, but in the vibration of Pisces, is yes, your focus, your attention is on career and communications, right? And it's also going to be on more long-term goals around your reputation, but you might find yourself not being able to be as specific and exact, because Mercury and Pisces can't do that. Instead, it's trying to think in water, essentially. So you might find yourself more drawn to being in a more creative problem-solving space, especially at work, where you're presenting some different kind of ideas and they're more soul-based, or I think in the 10th house as well, it's fair to say that you might initiate a really tender or heartfelt conversation with someone who's in leadership in your world. Maybe it's a supervisor. Maybe you go and you sit with them and you say, these are my professional aspirations, and I want to know how we can work together to get towards them, right? Now, Mercury in Pisces can also bring confusion. And like I said, that lack of clarity, because Mercury is not just getting all the facts and the details. So just be mindful of miscommunication there. But the Sun here is bringing that light, heat, life, and vitality. So it's really illuminating that you want to advance in your career. You want some kind of change in your public image. So shine. Take it. Take it as a chance to shine. Have that conversation with your supervisor, or with, wherever you need to be to allow yourself to shine and step forward, and then go on ahead and lead in a project, okay? And that new moon is a great and powerful time for you to set your intentions around your career or your public life. So if you're ready to start brainstorming some new business ideas, you want to get ready to initiate a project that aligns more with you spiritually or really fits a long-term goal for you, which could also be a financial goal, right? You know, whatever it is, focus on improving that and planting your seeds of intention to not only launch a brand that is in alignment with who you are. And by that, I mean, yes, you can be launching a brand as a business, but you can be launching a brand as an individual as well. Like, who are you when you get up, move through your day, and go out into the world? When people are talking about you or using your name in the workplace, what are they saying? Now, this particular new moon lunation is square to Jupiter, okay? So the square to Jupiter in your first house, I think, can put you in a position where you can be tempted to overpromise or like take on more than you can actually handle professionally. It's like you're doing the most, and you don't need to do the most. You just need to stay realistic and focused on having that steady progress. Speaking of steady progress, on the 20th, we're going to see that Mars turns direct finally at 17 degrees of Cancer. So make sure you check that degree on your personal chart, okay? But Mars turning direct here is going to light up your second house space. So it's bringing some momentum to all the financial matters, to your self-worth. It's getting you from this position of being in resentment around family matters or financial matters. You know, if your finances have felt stuck or you've been attached to your family for some kind of financial entanglement, right? You may now start to find different ways that your income is generating. You're generating income. You're resolving past money issues. Debt is so stressful. So it's nice to have the energy moving forward. Again, I still see some strong signatures here where maybe you go in and you negotiate a pay raise. Maybe you launch a side hustle. Maybe you set some financial boundaries because you're like, I don't want the emotional stress that comes with being attached to money or possessions, or when they are out of whack. Okay. Now with Mars coming direct, Mars is still out of bounds. So one of the things I just want you to be cautious of is acting or taking actions that are just out of financial fear and insecurity. Right? Like, don't let that fear and that insecurity pause. You have time to pause and consider what you're doing. Focus on creating a stable financial foundation for yourself right now, Gemini, and that is going to take you the long game. All right, beautiful Geminis, have a great month. Beautiful Cancerian friends, and welcome to February. Cancer, I love it this month. Mars is coming out of retrograde in your sign, so there's a bit of a release of the energy. Hopefully, the things that you have learned during the Mars retrograde, you're able to release any resentment that has been there. You've got a different strategy on how to move yourself forward. So I'm really hoping those are some things we're going to see the benefits of watching those as they move forward. But before that, before we really get going towards the Mars coming direct at the beginning of the month on the 1st, we've got this beautiful tap in with Venus in the last moments of being in Pisces, and it comes into this beautiful conjunction with Neptune. It's right here on the 1st of the month, and I love it because this transit is so deliciously creative, it's spiritual, and it is an encouragement to you, Cancer, to be inspired. Now, this lights up your 9th house space, so it's the encouragement about, exploring your own growth. Maybe you're feeling more like a soul call, maybe a spiritual call towards, studying something with someone or exploring different philosophies that you haven't really explored in a very long time. But this is such a nice, easy aspect to be inspired. Allow yourself as you're coming into February, if you haven't in a long while, to just be inspired. It's an absolutely just beautiful energy. Now, after that, we will see that Venus moves into the vibration of Aries, and this will light up your 10th house space. So Venus calls to us. It calls it in, pulls it in, pulls it in. Venus is not a hustle hard planet. It is a come to me kind of a planet, attraction only. So here in the 10th house, we have this highlight of your career, your reputation, your public image. And it's a time for you, Cancer, to focus on what you want to attract. Attract the opportunities for recognition. Attract the opportunities for success into your professional life. For example, maybe this month you have to impress your boss with some kind of creative proposal, or you've got something that's due, right? Okay, really put your back into it and know that you've done good work that's valuable, and then just let the results come to you. It's a great month with Venus here in Aries where you can network with people who are more influential in terms of the direction you would like to be associated with in your career. Maybe you're stepping into a leadership role, and the leadership role doesn't just have to be in the office. Maybe you're stepping into leadership in your life. Is it time for you to be that wife, that husband, that community service member? What is it? Whatever it is, this is a time where as you step up to it and step into it and create the container of what you are inspired and willing to work with, that Venus in Aries will aggressively friendly attract it to you. Now, to the shadow side, I do want to be mindful, because Aries is another cardinal energy, is that if you prioritize ambition over the relationships and the honest connection in the relationships, this will end up being a problem, because you'll come across really being competitive or too focused on your own success instead of actually being a part of like the team or being a part of what's going on. And this can actually get in your way, okay? Now, we're also going to see that Jupiter is going to turn direct here in Gemini, and this lights up your 12th house space. Now, Jupiter's direct motion here in this 12th house is about bringing a bit of clarity to your inner world and to where you have grown spiritually and personally since September of 2024, right? So I hope for you that you are feeling this space of, a renewed sense of optimism, especially around healing from things from the past wounds. Maybe you've spent some time exploring your subconscious mind. If this could be a time where you've seen some things, so now you're ready to start that therapy. You understand the benefits of journaling. Maybe you discover a spiritual practice that is putting you in a little bit more peace and perspective. So this can be a wonderful energy. There's always the shadow side. The 12th house with Jupiter here can amplify escapism. So if you find yourself being really, you want to avoid those responsibilities, you're staying in the fantasy, really in a lot of isolation, this is something to look out for, all right? Now we've got a masterful full moon happening on the 12th. This is the full moon at 24 degrees of Leo, and this is going to light up your second house space, but this lunation is square to Uranus. So first of all, the full moon is asking us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment here, okay? And the full moon is shining light on your finances, on your relationships, on your self-worth, on how you express yourself in these areas. So I think that in combination with Uranus, there can be this like sudden realization of what you value, your own values, right? And it's a good thing. It's a tough thing, I think, but it's a good thing because you find yourself reassessing how your income or how your current finances really align with your long-term goals and vision for yourself. So let's just say that this lunation brings in an unexpected expense. Okay, and it could be Uranian. Maybe it's related to a group or a grouping, something that you're a part of a group of, and you really have to adjust your budget, or you're like, I've been spending too much money on this subscription and it's not actually benefiting my long-term game, so I'm not going to do that, because that square to Uranus can really create a bit of financial unpredictability. And it really comes down to, I have this tension between a personal value that I have that I need to express and maybe a group expectation of how I'm supposed to show up here. I'm feeling pressured to contribute or to make financial decisions that are not in alignment. Just take a step back and consider whether your choice is really aligned with your deeper priorities, with your household's deeper priorities before you make some big decisions, okay? The 14th, Mercury will roll into Pisces, followed by an official start to Pisces season on the 18th, and the 27th will bring us a new moon in Pisces. Now, as these energies light up the Piscean season for you, it really encourages you again to look at where you want to pursue knowledge and expand expand not only your knowledge base, but your spiritual beliefs. This is a season that I think inspires a lot of curiosity in you, Cancer. You want broad thinking. You're like, hold on, what's up with higher education? What's up with spiritual studies, other cultural ideas? Maybe there's a travel opportunity that's coming in for you. Whatever it is, I think that Pisces season is really a time for you to go on the adventure of where you're like, I need to understand more about spirituality. I need to have a level up in my spiritual practice or my spiritual routine in some way. Right now, Venus had that just little tasty nugget of a connection with Neptune in Pisces before it left and moved into Aries. So I think where you have been deriving your inspiration is really going to show you where you're going to shape and grow out some more practical grounding into your life. But again, it's still Pisces season. Be mindful not to overly extend yourself or set unrealistic goals in your quest for your new growth and your knowledge, okay? But instead, let that new moon be an encouragement to plant your seeds of intention for spiritual exploration, for growth, for education, anything that you want to go. And I really want to give an example of this because this keeps coming to me, Cancer. So let me know in the comment section down below what this means for you. But it's like I see you deciding to, after a bit of resistance for some reason, like you're committing to like a meditation practice or something like that, where you're having to like sit with it, be with it, but it's inspiring your soul, right? It is tied directly to that square to Jupiter, that it's like this tie comes from some kind of inner healing journey that you've been on, that now you're like, okay, I'm ready to commit to it. Just, again, make sure you're not going full out and over committing. All right, on the 20th, not to skip over the good part, Mars is going to come direct in your sign at 17 degrees of Cancer. So lighting up your first house space, Mars's direct motion here is first of all, it's bringing a renewed sense of energy. It's coming back online. We are back. But Mars is still out of bounds. So we need to be mindful of some of this renewed energy that has come back. The motivation, the confidence that goes with it can be really reactive still as well. You feel like you've established these new personal boundaries. You know yourself a little bit differently, and somebody even just like gently pushes on them and you have a very big reaction. So we just want to be mindful that Mars is still out of bounds, so things can still be a bit intense and a bit extreme. But after a long period of introspection during this retrograde, especially around things about your emotions, around family, about women in your life, about resentment, I want you to know that you are ready to take action, different action, healed action that is going to be a benefit to you and to your relationships. I really believe it. You have, despite maybe finding yourself having reactions to minor frustrations still, you have become a different kind of channel for this energy to move through you in a really constructive way, where it's a lot more about no blame game. Where is my self-care? And it's a different level of control and being. Your emotions and how you work with them, I think, are just in such a different place after this retrograde. You let me know about that in the comment section down below. All right, Cancers, have a beautiful month. Beautiful Leo friends, and welcome to February. We're Leo this month. Of course, that Mars is going to come direct. So we're getting some energy and getting some life coming back online, a little bit of forward motion. But I just want you to keep in mind that you definitely want to check out the general reading at the beginning of this entire video to get all of the ushy-gushy details about what's going on. But for you personally, Leo, let's talk about how this month is even getting started, because it is getting started pretty sweet. So right here on the 1st, we're going to see that Venus, before it moves into this Aries energy on the 4th, is going to come into this really nice conjunction with Neptune that's over in Pisces as well. And then just behind that, we'll actually see that Mercury and Jupiter come into a beautiful trine. And if you were listening during the weekly, I talked just a little bit about this. But this is such a sweet start to the month because, first of all, it's so nourishing. It's an energy of giving and receiving information with ease. It's about being inspired. It's really about filling the soul cup, So whatever this looks like for you at the beginning of the month, I would really purposely, if you can, make time to just move into spaces that really feed your being, feed your inspiration, give you this sense of, what lights you up and what inspires you, because this energy is going to be so good for you to be able to work with. Now, this Piscean energy is also in your 8th house. So while it's deepening your thoughts and drawing you more towards topics of psychology, joint resources, intimacy, finance, transformation, all of these things, find yourself maybe diving into what is your most intimate conversation or connection with another source. And that doesn't necessarily have to be another person. It can be, what is the content that you engage and you consume on a daily basis? Does that fill your cup? Does that give you space to be inspired as you go on this journey of exploring things more deeply, or your journey of finance? Whatever it is for you, just know that the beginning of the month is an opportunity to fill that soul cup. So I would definitely be taking it. Now, when we get to the 4th, we're going to see that Venus enters into Aries, and Jupiter's also going to come direct in Gemini. Now, this Venus in Aries energy is going to light up your 9th house space. So remember that Venus is not a hustle hard planet. It is a come to me, just attracting only. I attract, I don't chase, is the vibration of Venus. So in the 9th house, this is this inspiration and this calling in for love. A love of learning, a love of adventure, a love of broadening your horizons, marketing, broadcasting, publishing, right? Some of you may feel really drawn to take a trip. Some of you might be like, I'm leaving this country, right? You could have that going on. Or it's the time where you really want to enroll in a course because you want to explore a new philosophy. Some of you might be calling in new spiritual practices, self-care, love, balancing, stress reduction practices into your life. Or you're going to attend a retreat or something like that. This is a beautiful energy under that Venus in Aries. Now, when we see Jupiter coming into its direct motion, it'll be in this 11th house space for you. And this is an opportunity for social growth and for a lot of collaborative projects on your part, right? So having gone through the retrograde time, there is an opportunity for you to build meaningful connections now because you've learned something about yourself. Your experience has brought wisdom to you. So as you feel inspired to reconnect, connect with friends, join with groups that align with your purpose, make you feel like you're part of the tribe. Maybe you're even feeling like you want to lead something in some kind of group setting. This is a beautiful energy to do it. Now, the one thing you do want to be mindful of is that the expansiveness of Jupiter's energy can actually lead to this like overextending yourself in a group setting. You're like, oh, I've learned so much. Now I'm going to go out here and overpromise. You might be promising more than you can deliver and really spread yourself thin. That's very common of this Gemini energy. So I would encourage you to go to the other side of Gemini. First of all, stay grounded in your approach by focusing, right? A Gemini can focus on word magic. And now we're focusing on the quality of the words and the decisions instead of just the quantity of them. Listen, is this a quality decision for me to make? Is this a quality commitment for me to make? Okay. The full moon is going to be happening in your sign with a square to Uranus over in Taurus. So this is a nice fixed square that is going down. Now, the full moon is going to ask us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. And here in your first house, this is definitely a time where we're looking at your identity, your own self-expression. Like you're maybe wanting to pivot or redefine how you perceive yourself or how you put yourself out there to be perceived, but this is in a square to Uranus in that 10th house. So it's creating this tension between your individuality and how you want to do things and maybe some kind of professional responsibility or some kind of obligation that you have in some way. And this could also be to family for sure, or a financial situation. So this can be a lunation where you find yourself, emotionally a little bit more shaken up by feeling the pressures to conform or move or the expectations that are going on here. But meanwhile, you're really just wanting to prove and push towards your own independence. So I would encourage you here to use this full moon to pivot. Just pivot. Find ways to balance your needs for that self-expression with whatever your responsibilities and obligations are, because this is still a fixed square. A fixed square really wants stability more than anything. So maybe it's time time for you to just, you want to change your appearance, change your hair or something like that, but make sure it's still inside of the dress code. All right, as we get to the 14th, we're going to see Mercury usher into Pisces. Then we'll see the 18th brings the sun officially into Pisces season, and the 27th brings us the new moon in Pisces as well. Now, all of this Piscean energy for you shines a light on joint assets, joint resources, intimacy, transformation. Any place you're sharing a resource really will be really good. But I want to focus a bit more for you, Leo, into the intimate relationship connections that you may have, because it's really a time here as Pisces season comes to you to focus on not only your connections with yourself and your healing and your traumas and your magic and your beauty, right? But it's also a time to focus on deep connections with where you're personally growing in the relationships you have around you, So maybe you're working on it this particular Pisces season. You are during every Pisces season, but maybe this one's got it a bit more in your attention that you're working on improving trust in a relationship that you have. Maybe even for some of you, this is the 8th house, so delving into finances, financial planning, especially things with partners, or maybe you're engaging something with loans or debt and you're able to make some decisions around that, right? Just explore whatever this is going to help you do to gain new trust so that you can step forward. And always, always, always work in the 8th house has its own intensity, but the intensity is really about helping you to release old baggage that stops you from those vulnerable, intimate connections with your life. So that new moon's going to be an opportune time, an invitation to set your seeds of intention for transformation, for intimate and emotional renewal. If you want to decide to start those financial plannings, pay that debt back, focus on deepening trust, any of your healing practices, astrology, 12th step program work, this is going to be the right time to do it. Now, of course, on the 20th, we see Mars as the big ticket item this month, turning direct at 17 degrees of Cancer. So this lights up your 12th house space. Now, as Mars is in its direct motion, although it is coming direct, I do want you to keep in mind that it is still out of bounds. So our reactions to things, especially in the 12th house, you can still be having reactions to some kind of repressed anger or frustration, right? And this can lead to, especially here in Cancer, where you're being a bit more passive aggressive, right? And that's not going to go very well for you. But the other thing is that the feeling of it can just you feel hopeless or you feel helpless. There's a powerlessness feeling that's happening here, a little bit of resentment. So I'm just going to encourage you, as Mars is coming direct, remember that you are a different person, right? You have some skills and you have some tools available to you now to help you confront any kind of past issues or emotions or resentments or things having to do with women or home that have come up for you, anything that have to do with any of the mental illnesses or immunity issues that have been going on within your own body. So remember, you have tools at your disposal. Now it's just very Martian. It is about you picking them up, okay? So instead of bottling up whatever's going on with you, channel that energy, Leo, into some really healthy outlets. This is still Mars, so exercise, meditation, journaling, creative projects, therapy, talking it out. These are all going to be wonderful ways for you to also be very Cancerian, which is to make a beautiful start at what is going to help you release whatever doesn't need here anymore and step forward into new strategies that are actually about forward momentum. All right, my beautiful Leos, have a good full moon and have a good month. Beautiful Virgo friends, and welcome to February. Virgo, this month we've got that Mars coming direct, which is big news, as well as Jupiter coming direct as well. So there is a hint of some forward motion available for us. Make sure you did, in fact, listen to the general reading at the beginning of this so you're getting all of the dates, all of the ushy-gushy details. But let's jump in and talk about some themes that are going on for you. Now, right at the beginning of the month, Virgo, I absolutely love it. We've got a sweet spot to take advantage of. So Venus and Neptune are going to come into a conjunction right here on the 1st in the vibration of Pisces. And because this lights up your 7th house space of conscious, chosen, one-on-one relationships, first of all, it is such a delicious, sweet invitation for you to not only have a fair amount of exploration and just nice attractive energy coming to you, being inspired in your relationships. If you're already in a relationship with someone, you're in a romantic relationship or even in a partnership, it's a great time to go have a lunch together. Just spend time together, just be in the sweetness of the vibration of the day. And then when we get to the 3rd, if you remember me talking about this in the weekly video a couple weeks ago, Mercury is now going to be in a trine to Jupiter. So it's absolutely a lovely beginning of the month time for conversation, giving and receiving information, being connected, putting yourself out there in some way. If you want to have certain kinds of relationships in your life, from business relationships, friendships, maybe you've got to file paperwork with the court because the 7th house also rules our open enemies. So people you are in conflict with, right? This is the best time to be giving and receiving that information. Now, as we actually get a little bit further into the month, on the 4th, we're going to see that Venus moves now out of that Piscean dance into the Aries energy, lighting up your 8th house space. Now, Venus is not a hustle hard planet, so we're not going to be hustling. We're not going out here to get anything. Venus is about calling it into you. And in the 8th house, you're calling in a deepening to focus on intimacy, shared resources, assets, transformation, debt, right? There's just a deepening, like you want to maybe explore more of the dynamics of control, of sex, of give and take, of trust in your relationships. And this can include, your financial institutions. Who and how are you connected with them? What is the debt situation? It can be calling in money to fix a debt, repair a debt. Also, maybe you're just discussing joint finances with a partner. Maybe you're going to go out and you're going to start some kind of shared business venture, or you're, strengthening trust in some kind of relationship that you have. The sky is really the limits in this 8th house energy, but Venus is here to bring a harmony. Now, the one thing I will say is that Venus in Aries, and I have this place and so I can attest to this, it can make you really impatient and overly assertive when you're dealing with topics that are very vulnerable or very sensitive. And remember, Venus is not a hustle hard planet. Be cautious of pushing opportunities or other people to open up to you, because you're like trying to control that, or you're trying to control a financial outcome. Instead, practice the patience of letting the moment and the collaboration unfold in trust right there with you. Now, we're also going to see that Jupiter comes direct in that vibration of Gemini at 11 degrees. Jupiter's direct motion here is going to light up your 10th house space. So your career, your public reputation, your public image, what we know you as in public. So it's nice because it actually brings a little bit of momentum to any kind of professional or public opportunity that you might take on. So if you're feeling a bit inspired at this time to step into a leadership role, or, Jupiter is a planet of fame as well. If you want to expand your influence in some way, or, you want to align your work with someone else because you share the same kind of vision long term, this would be a great transit to do that, because you have learned during the Jupiter retrograde where your wisdom and your natural talent actually land. For those of you who are still looking for work, or you're looking to work in different ways, this is also a great transit to potentially land a new job, or you receive some kind of recognition. You're gathering those testimonials. Maybe it's your own customer. New projects could be coming into you, but it would be based off of your reputation and your name being put out there, okay? Now, the one caveat I do want to offer here is that even if your confidence has come up, Jupiter can sometimes make us overly confident. So you're taking on more professionally than you can actually handle. So just be mindful of overcommitting and don't chase your opportunities, especially if they do not align with the current new values that you really have and hold for yourself. On the 12th, we've got a full moon happening at 24 degrees of Leo. And this lunation is in square to Uranus and Taurus, okay? So the full moon itself is going to ask us to pivot, to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. And it's really here in the 12th house space for you, an illumination of any kind of behind the scenes old patterns, subconscious patterns, or hidden aspects of yourself that need to be pivoted from. And that can be as simple as you have a really powerful realization that you've had this limiting belief or this limiting set of behaviors that are really holding you back, or 12th house, keeping you separate from other people. Virgo, has your goodness been keeping you separate from others? Because sometimes if we're too perfect, we're not actually relatable, right? This is something to consider. And that South Node is working over in that Virgo vibration anyway. So I know you're already thinking about this. But I also think that Uranian energy can give you this space where you have this kind of sudden insight where you realize this and there's some clarity and there can be some healing around it. Now, the other thing is that square to Uranus being in the 9th house can create a restlessness. It can create an emotional desire to escape, but you want to escape really deeply into emotions or distractions, or you want some kind of intellectual pursuit to keep you from the feeling. So it is important here at this lunation to use it well, balance that space of where you need to have that introspection. You got to look at those things, and you want you have this desire for adventure, which is fine. Go on the adventure of continuing to learn who you are, but don't adventure and distract yourself in a way that is going to avoid the emotional experience as well, okay? All right, on the 14th, Mercury will move into Pisces. On the 18th, the Sun officially ushers in Pisces season, and the 27th will bring us to that new moon in Pisces. So the relationship area of your chart gets absolutely lit up from this point, and that North Node is, of course, traveling in that Pisces energy. So we know that over the next 18 months, this is really the direction that your attention is trying to go. Your focus is on relationships, and it ramps itself up right now, okay? So as you're looking at these relationship energies, first of all, the Sun's bringing light, heat, life, and vitality into this space. So again, if you're feeling inspired to strengthen your relationships, maybe strengthen a romantic or a marriage bond that you have, or you want to collaborate on some kind of business project or a venture that you want to take on, or you want to make a meaningful, significant new connection, you're putting yourself out there. Is this a mentor? Is this a tutor? Is this a teacher? Is this someone who's just going to change the course of your life? This is the season where this is going to be happening. Now, because this is Pisces season, again, we want to be mindful of the shadow. Don't over idealize other people or become too reliant on them. Instead, we're moving forward into the focus, especially with the North Node in this particular area of your chart, at maintaining balance and seeing relationships as clearly as is possible, but also trusting our intuition, trusting the spiritual goal that we're working towards, and trusting that, you don't have to have unrealistic expectations of yourself or others to have these beautiful relationships unfold in your life. And I think that Mercury's role here in this Piscean vibration here is going to help focus on communication, have those conversations where the head and the heart are actually in alignment. Again, though, we just need to be mindful that it doesn't blur the clarity of communication so that there is this over idealizing or this misunderstanding. Instead, slow down, put your hand on your heart, know that your head and heart are in alignment, and express yourself clearly, but then also listen. Actively listen to the responses that you're getting, because it'll tell you if you're in the right alignment. You know what I mean? Now, that new moon is going to, again, ramp up some of this partnership energy. So it's a great time to plant your seeds of intention for growing your relationships, having a renewal in your relationships, whatever it is that you want to expand here. Now, the square to Jupiter from this new moon, again, can amplify some really unrealistic expectations or some kind of overcommitment to some kind of relationship that you're taking on, where maybe you feel torn between having this personal connection with someone, but you have your own maybe professional ambitions that you want to move forward with. So again, Pisces energy, I think, calls for trusting your instinct, trusting your intuition, but focus on having really clear boundaries and really intentional collaboration that aligns with your values as you're moving forward. That's going to be a great tool to maintain balance. Now, we cannot forget the star of the show this month, and that is that Mars is going to turn direct at 17 degrees of Cancer, starting to release some of this energy and the actions and the strategies forward. Now, Mars direct is happening for you in the 11th house space, so it's bringing that momentum to your friends, your social groups, social networks, group projects, organizations you're a part of, and any long-term goals or aspirations you have for yourself. So you might start to feel finally like you can move forward with some kind of project that you've been wanting to work on. Maybe the efforts have really been stalled, or maybe you've been wanting to take more of a leadership role in some kind of organization, and now you can do that. You can organize that fundraiser. You can launch that social media. But remember that Mars is still out of bounds, okay? So your actions maybe need to be out of bounds, out of the normal way that you would do things, but it also gives you a slight edge where you might still be a little bit more reactive and impulsive to small frustrations. So channel that energy into something really constructive. Teamwork makes the dream work. Remember, don't be so perfect that you're isolated. And if you can do that and have that teamwork makes the dream work spirit, rather than just letting the emotional conflict get in there or avoiding the emotional conflict, I think that this is going to serve you very, very, very well this month, Virgo. All right, my beautiful friends, we are getting ready for eclipse season. So have a good February as the eclipse energies begin to pull in and pour in. Just know we're going to really be talking about that weekly, getting ready for it to actually go down in March. Have a great month, Virgo. My absolutely beautiful Libra friends, and welcome to your horoscope for February, where Libra this month, it is important to start to take note that Venus, your ruling planet, is yes going to move into the vibration of Aries, but Venus is also in the position of her pre-retrograde shadow energy right now. So it's beginning right now, since January, to bring this shift in not only your partnerships and those connections that you're making at the conscious chosen one-on-one place, but also it is starting to give you a place where it's emphasizing how you want to connect based on the values that you carry today, right? Because our vibe attracts our tribe is really something that I want you to be aware of as we are considering what's happening here in February. Now, we will not actually see Venus go retrograde until we get into March, but the energy is already happening. And as your ruling planet, along with the Taurus vibration, this is something that may be catching your attention right away. Not to mention that Mars, of course, is still out of bounds. So hopefully you have listened to the general breakdown of all of the energy so you can really see how that Venus and that Mars interaction are playing out for you. But as we're coming into this month, something that I want to just offer to you that I think we could all use, Libra, is that you are coming into this month with a little bit of a sweet spot happening. Before Venus actually moves and gets into the vibration of Aries on the 1st, Venus is going to come in this connection with Neptune, right? And this is happening on the 1st. So this is actually a really beautiful energy. It is about nurturing the spirit. It's about nurturing your creativity. It's about feeling like your spiritual cup, your idealistic cup is really, really full. And I think that this is important because as we're looking at it and it hits the lens of your 6th house space where that North Node is going to be working all year, there's really something that is about taking care of your body, your wellness, a daily routine that actually is ideal and makes you feel like your own cup is really, really full. You know, it's a great time for you to be looking at your diet. It's a good time to be connecting with, you know, your pets or animals or getting out in nature, things like that. It's a sweet spot in the month, so I hope that you take a lot of advantage of it. Then when we get to the 4th, we're going to see that Venus actually enters into that vibration of Aries, lighting up your 7th house space. So this is going to bring energy and passion all to your partnership area. But remember, Venus is not a hustle hard planet. Okay, Venus is an attracting in planet only. I'm attracting into me what I need. So you may have these experiences here in your 7th house where you are not only having this sense of increased harmony in your current and present relationships, maybe even to the tune of bringing a little bit of excitement into your conscious chosen one-on-one relationships, whether those be romantic or maybe those can be business, right? This is a great transit for deepening the connection. But on another more practical energy as well, this is a great energy if you needed to negotiate or renegotiate a business agreement, okay? What about maybe calling in a mentor or someone significant in your life that will change the course of your life? You're literally letting this Venus energy call it into you. Now, we do have to be mindful, Libra, because Venus in Aries can also make you over assertive or very impatient, especially, here in your partnerships, and you're going out there and you're trying to make something happen instead of sitting back, relaxing, and letting it actually come to you because you have assertively called it. So practice that this month. All right, as we are also here on the 4th, we're going to see Jupiter finally come direct at 11 degrees of Gemini, and this lights up your 9th house space. So as we're seeing Jupiter come in its direct motion into this 9th house, now there's this clarity around where you have really been doing a lot of growth, where you've had a lot of introspection. Maybe you've had to have some experiences and now it's given you new wisdom about all of the 9th house things. Faith, first and foremost, faith. What is it that you call a higher power? What do you go to? What do you believe in? What do you tap into as the wellspring of your life, especially when we're talking about how you base your life, right? Because the philosophies and the beliefs that you have are what you're going to base your life off of. So there's also going to be concepts of shifting information around higher education, around travel, around all ways that you get to expand out. So I will say, as Jupiter comes direct now in Gemini, if you've had a lot of options about things that you were maybe thinking about studying, or maybe you were thinking about going someplace on a trip, as Jupiter comes direct now, this is going to be the time where you can actually, enroll in that new course of study or actually book that trip. Now, when we get to the 12th, we're going to have a full moon happening at 24 degrees of Leo. This, of course, lights up your 11th house space, and it'll square that Uranian energy over in fellow Venusian sign Taurus in your 8th house. Now, the full moon asks us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment, and it's going to highlight for you here your friends, your friendships, organizations you're connected to, your tribe or who you believe to be your tribe, your social networks, but also, Libra, your long-term goals and dreams and aspirations for yourself. So this is an energy with this full moon where you may be experiencing, it's like a breakthrough. It's like a breakthrough. You're getting a breakthrough where you see, oh, okay, I need to do it this way, or you're gathering some kind of different information, and allows you to pivot. And maybe that pivot is that you're bringing something that's a group effort, maybe to a culmination. Maybe it's a community project that's coming to an end. Maybe you're like, I don't actually belong to this friendship group, this organizational group anymore. We don't align with each other anymore, But on other ways, I never want to forget that the 11th house is also a space of recognition. So you might be receiving some recognition, especially, Libra, if you've been doing something really collaborative, right? So allow yourself to be recognized at this particular time. And if it doesn't align with your values anymore, let it go. That's really that Uranian energy to the 8th house. Whatever it is at this lunation, I want you to expect the unexpected. Expect changes, especially in your groups or your group dynamics. When we get to the 14th, Mercury is going to enter into Pisces, and then the 18th brings the Sun into Pisces, and the 27th is going to bring that new moon into Pisces. Now, as we come into Pisces season, this is a light up of your 6th house space. The North Node is also already traveling here. Neptune is traveling through Pisces. Saturn is in Pisces. So it is a full 6th house show going on for you as we get to this half of the month. So I want you really pulling in and paying a lot of attention, because the 6th house is going to illuminate for you everything having to do with your health, your daily routines, your scheduling, your work-life balance. So this is a time, as we're going through this next 4 weeks at a minimum, to really focus on your self-care, to focus on how your habits support your overall well-being for sure, or how they do not. Do you have a daily routine, or do you have a health care practice that's maybe a little bit overly idealistic, or it's a bit more escapist in some way, shape, or form? But this is really the time to get these physical routines, the ones that allow you to be as healthy as possible and that are sustainable, in place at this time. Now, something else I was thinking about is, because this is the 6th house, if you wanted to start a new fitness routine, that would be great. But just as equally important is to think about other physical things that can help you. Do you need to declutter your workspace? Or is this just that you're actually getting the journal and you're sitting down and you're making that commitment and writing out what you're eating every day so that you can see where you need to make adjustments to have healthier eating habits, workout habits? The sixth house also has to do with work. And this is not your job. It's the daily things that you do in your job. So do you have a healthy, committed daily work practice, right? So let me know in the comment section down below, Libra, what is coming up for you around that work sector as well. Now, February 20th, we do not want to leave out because Mars is going to be coming direct at 17 degrees of Cancer. Thank you very much, right? And Mars direct here is coming direct in your 10th house. So it's bringing now some momentum to your career, to your public reputation area. Now, we've been in this retrograde for quite some time, and it never seems like it's that big of a deal until we get about to the midpoint of the Mars retrograde, and then the real frustration kicks in. And hopefully now, after this period of really good reassessment during the retrograde, you're feeling like you have a better strategy or better actions in plan to pursue what you want professionally, those goals. Or maybe it's just renewed your determination. You know what I mean? Because I think about you, Libra, and maybe it's time for you to take on that leadership role, but in a different way. In a way that aligns a lot more with what is true internally for your internal compass. Maybe you're going to be stepping up to advocate for yourself for some kind of promotion. Maybe you're going to launch an entirely new career because you're like, yeah, this is not emotionally filling and nurturing my cup. This is pushing against my security, and I'm not willing to go down this road anymore. So what I want to just say here is that there are new behaviors and strategies and desires that have been built during the retrograde. So if you focus on steady and intentional progress instead of, acting defensively as things come up at work or in your soul level calling or in your reputation, if you are not letting criticism really get to you, but just slow, intentional progress, this is going to be the best way to demonstrate the new strategies that have been brought and wrought out of your experience during the Mars retrograde that are a lot more emotionally in alignment with who you are and who you want to be now. All right, my absolutely beautiful Libra, I think this month has a lot of focus on the relationships, the career, obviously the daily routines, and we just want to remember that there's shadow sides to everything, but I think that February has an opportunity to not only have some of the energy moving forward, but being a transformative month, which is a lot more about recalibrating these areas of your life as opposed to needing to start them all from scratch again. All right, Libra, have a great month. Beautiful Scorpio friends, and welcome to February, where Scorpio this month, there's such an emphasis on your health and wellness and what's going on with taking care of your body, but being able to do that with a little bit more ease as Venus is going to move into that sixth house space for you and really kind of attract some harmony, attract some ease into it. And as we get into the second half of the month, the fifth house gets absolutely lit up. So it's about creative expression. It's about your romantic life. It's about things that are going on with your children or concepts really involving your children come into the spotlight. So I'm interested to see, what this children energy is for you, because not for everybody, it's not going to be that you have babies, right? It can be that you are around children or that you are at the conception stage even of a new project, and that's like the new baby. But the big news this month, obviously, is that Mars is turning direct. And as Mars is one of your ruling planets, I bet you are going to be quite excited to have a little bit of energy back in the tank. All right, Scorpio. So as we're starting out the month, we're really actually starting out very sweet. And the energies have been a little bit heavy. So I want to invite you that no matter where you're at, no matter what's going on, take a small minute to take a sweet sip of life if you can, especially here on the first, where Venus, before it gets out of that Piscean energy, it's going to come into a conjunction with Neptune right here on the first. And this is about filling your spiritual cup. Fill your spiritual cup, no matter what it is, no matter what you've been going through, no matter what's been going on. Take a minute and say, does this just restore my spirit? Does this fill my spiritual and creative cup in some way? Okay. And then in the next couple days from there, we'll see Mercury and Jupiter come together, which I talked about in the weekly. And this is going to be an ideal time for you to be having conversations, signing contracts, doing any of these things that you need to do that kind of progress things forward. And it's really very fulfilling. These are going to be your first few days of the month. And then when we get to the 4th, we see Venus move into Aries, and here we go. Venus here is not a hustle hard planet. Venus is about attraction. I attract, I don't chase. So you're pulling into you things in your 6th house area. So first of all, Venus is going to enhance the harmony that's here in your daily work environment, your personal wellness routines, your daily schedule, right? It's like make it sweet. Try to reduce stress. Venus is heavy in the business of stress reduction. So if you are feeling more inspired to revamp your schedule, improve your work relationships. Maybe you need to go to the gym or you need to do, those back stretches or something like that. You're going to try to make them a little bit more enjoyable, especially if your world and circumstances have changed around you and now you're forced to make these changes. This is about making them as sweeter as you possibly can. Now, I do believe for many of you too, that if you are looking for work or changes with work, Venus can call this into you, but you need to be very, very clear, right? Be very clear with what you want to call into your space, because what you want to do is have this beautiful mindfulness of balancing things in your life that are productive, going to take you where you need to go, but they need to also be balanced with a fair amount of self-care. So, instead of just calling in something so that you're busy or that you have something to make you feel like you have control and power of what's going on, don't get impulsive and impatient. Don't get so frustrated with the inefficiencies of what's going on in the daily space. Instead, look for ways where you can make your daily tasks feel more fulfilling, but also manage a lot of that self-care, okay? Also on the 4th, we're going to see that Jupiter comes direct at 11 degrees of Gemini. Now, Jupiter's direct motion here is going to be in your 8th house space of assets and intimacy, right? Intimacy, you see into me. This is a pretty big energy, but it's about at this point, you've had some experiences. Maybe your experiences have burned you a little bit. They haven't been the most fun, and some of them have just been, glorious, but it's all been about wisdom building. So here, as Jupiter comes direct, it's about clarity around intimacy. Where maybe have things been blocked, maybe where things needed to be talked about, where were contracts even that needed to be signed and figured out and you had to grow through them, financial decisions, emotional blockages or emotional concepts where you're growing beyond where you were before, and certainly anything that is going to bring your life in a really big way to its next place of transformation, right? And I don't mean that in a woo-woo way. I mean, literally, you were a teacher for 20 years and now you're going to become a massage therapist. This is the kind of stuff I'm saying to you right now, because it's also an energy where you may finally see where you have enough progress and enough information and knowledge to make the change that you're willing to make that kind of joint investment. And whether that's a joint investment in a stock or a joint investment in a new job or a new position, whatever it is. Now, other things we're going to see here too that I think can go two ways. One, it is a huge place for psychological growth. That's what we do in the 8th house. We shed the things that we don't need anymore. But it's also a place where, as Jupiter is direct now, if you needed to pay down debt, you got those student loans, or you needed to finish something, bring it to some kind of culmination, I think you have the energy to be able to do that, finalize that loan, get that inheritance because it's finally coming to you, deepen that emotional intimacy in a relationship. The one thing that I would caution you to be mindful of is making impulsive financial commitments or really over-analyzing an emotional situation and you're just thinking about it, or you're like talking it to death, you're not actually taking this tangible steps that move forward. So just apply your wisdom, okay? On the 12th here, we've got this full moon happening at 24 degrees of Leo, and this brings your career into the spotlight. Now, this is square Uranus and Taurus in that relationship house. So first of all, the full moon is going to give you an opportunity to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. We need to pivot. So as this full moon is shining all of the light on your career space, your reputation, your public image, this is a time where, first of all, it can be very practical, right? Leo is fixed fire. So you're ending a work project. You're getting recognition for something that you were doing. Or what I think is even better and probably more the case here is that you are really looking at your long-term ambitions. You're like, yeah, I got this promotion here, but I am starting to realize that this is not long-term where I want to be long-term. This is not the aspiration. Now, the square to Uranus here in the 7th house, to me, gives a strong suggestion that the shifts that come from your career here are about relationships, right? Like there is a relationship that has a sudden change of dynamic or a sudden change of information, and it deeply impacts your career or your pathway forward. So if there's a sudden business partnership that comes to you and it's like, wow, that alignment I didn't really see coming, that's the upside of a Uranian energy. Or is it an unpredictable event that involves one of your colleagues or your boss, and it really challenges what you've been wanting to do or a direction that you want to lead, or you want to lead to. So pay attention to that, because the conflicts between career and partnership are under the spotlight at this time. And whenever Uranus gets involved, I'm going to tell you, stay flexible and use open communication. That's really going to be your key here. On the 14th, we see Mercury move into Pisces. The 18th brings the sun into Pisces, and the 27th will bring us a new moon in Pisces. So at this point, this 5th house, this children-like zone really gets lit up for your attention, okay? Now, moving into Pisces season, Pisces is a fellow water energy, so we're also going to see that not only are we working in fellow water energy, so there's a comfortability that's happening here, but the sun is also going to meet up with the North Node as we travel through this Piscean season. So this is a place of destiny for you this year. This is really a place of destiny, okay? So first of all, what I want to just say here is that in the 5th house place, some of the things that are coming to your attention is like your creative expression. How do you express yourself? How do you take a risk? How do you put yourself out there? And right now in the world, depending on where you're at, sometimes just saying the truth about what you feel or what you think is enough of a creative risk or enough of an expression risk, but it will change the course and the dynamic of your life. What needs to be said in your romantic relationships? Is there sweet conversations that need to be had, or forgiveness that needs to be had, or just a tender conversation with your children? Like I said here too, I don't think that it is just about the children, but for some of you, it really will be in that, even being in your own inner child, what you need to talk to, where you need to embrace the joy of everyday living with that still small version of you. But for some of you, it's creative projects are coming to pass now. You are building them. They are in conception. And you are getting ready to launch these things out here. And the new moon is an ideal time to be able to do that. This could be a period where you really are finding yourself prepared to step into the spotlight in a more creative way, or in a way that just puts you in a more active role in being seen, okay? And I hope that you really do take a lot of advantage of that particular energy, because as we see this new moon happening here, it's also going to be square to Jupiter that's over there in that 8th house. So again, it's this suggestion that some kind of aspiration or some kind of design or some kind of risk that you're wanting to take now, Scorpio, is intertwined very deeply, whether it be at an emotional or a financial level that you have to consider with another resource. You might need to address a financial limitation, even if it's a mind frame limitation, before you can fully pursue that passion, or maybe there's a space where you're going through the emotional healing that you're still working on in order to fully step into a new experience, okay? But whatever it is, plant your seeds of intention at that new moon to begin your new cycle moving forward. Now, on February 20th, we see Mars turning direct at 17 degrees of Cancer. Mars turning direct in your 9th house space is something I think that you welcome, right? Because first of all, it's one of the ruling planets, and it's the one that gets us moving. Yes, we're dying off, having all of this transformation, but we have to rise again at some point. And I think that Mars gives us the energy to do that. So you have a reignition of motivation here, and it's a reignition for faith, right? I want to move and act and live and be and in my faith. in ceremony, in reverence, in an expansion of my worldview and an expansion of my philosophical view. For some of you, it will be about higher education. Some of you, it may just be about publishing, marketing, broadcast. Get your digital course out there, get that website up there. And for others, I think that this could very much so look like you're going down the travel lens. So if you have felt like, especially as Mars has been retrograde, that you've been delaying a trip, it's taken you forever to get through a course, you just haven't been able to be on top of that publishing project, you've had some things tied up in legal, you've been resentful, you've been underneath that energy, right? This is a time where I think that the energy slowly begin to move forward, but they require you to apply healed actions and healed behaviors because Mars is still out of balance. So you can't act the way you were acting before. But likely during the retrograde, you were able to get some of the resentment worked out so that your actions are healed and you can apply a different strategy, okay? Now, I think that this is going to be quite the month. I can't tell you if it's going to be a good month, bad month. That'll depend on your particular chart, but this month is about balancing that productivity and your health of your daily routine, looking at your career development and seeing where you're going to take a risk, right? See where you're ready to take a risk and to step out and prioritize setting those intentions for having that more creative space moving forward in a way where your new projects can start to come to light. All right, my beautiful Scorpios, have a gorgeous month. Hello, beautiful Sagittarian friends, and welcome to February, where this month Sagittarius not only is Mars coming direct, which is woohoo kind of energy, but also ruling planet Jupiter is coming direct at 11 degrees of Gemini, so lighting up everything you have learned, all those lessons and wisdom around your relationships, conscious, chosen, one-on-one relationships. So let's get in here and talk about what the month has to offer, but please make sure that you have also gone to the beginning of the video and listen to the general breakdown of all of the nitty-gritty transits that are going on this month. And remember to join me every week so we can continue to break these down. Okay, Sagittarius, listen, the world has got a lot going on out there this month, but we're going to ground into what the energies have available with what you can actually do with them. And first of all, as we are coming into February, I want to just invite you to just take a minute, put your hand on your heart, and enjoy a moment of sweetness. On the first, we're going to see that Venus, before it gets out of that Pisces energy and moves into Aries, it's going to come into a connection with Neptune. And that is a kind of energy that is like, fill my soul cup. I need to fill my soul cup. I don't need the intellectual stimulation. I don't need all the noise. You know, I think about the, the Desperado that says, go placidly amongst the noise, right? And this is the place. What fills you? What lights you up? This is an energy I just want you to think about. And think about it in terms of your home. Pisces energy lights up your fourth house space. Home, family, real estate, property. You know, where do you need to have those delicious moments in your own home where you create a space where you can rest? Now, just behind that, Mercury and your ruling planet Jupiter, who is still retrograde at this point, are going to come into a trine with each other. And I talked about this in the weekly video as well. But here's the thing. Love that energy because it's great for anything where you need to do communication, sign contracts, you know, anything that has to do with the realm of communication. It's really very good. However, one of the things that Mercury and Jupiter can do when they come together is it is oversharing to the max. And I just have to say it, Sagittarius, think twice, speak once. This is going to be the time to do that because it's just like something rolls out of your mouth and you're like, oh, that was too much. You know, and it is not, let me be clear, about being fearful to speak in the world that you live in. It is simply that we've got some energies on us that just kind of, you know, the filter gets down just a little bit. So you just want to make sure you are using your communication and your word magic to the very best of its ability. Okay, now when we get into the fourth, we see that Venus now shifts into this vibration of Aries, lighting up the fifth house space. Venus is not a hustle hard planet. Venus is here to attract. Calling in, calling to you. So Venus here is igniting the place of what brings you passion? What brings you joy? Where are you going to be creative? right? And creative here doesn't just mean that you're dancing with watercolors naked under the moon. I mean, I love that for you, but how do you also use creative problem solving? Where do you go to the most simple solution and work from there, right? But also romance. Romance. The world is doing what the world is doing out there, Sagittarius, but when it is time for things to come into your life, they come. And Venus is calling in, calling in, calling in, okay? So if this transit is going and you feel inspired at this time to pursue some kind of artistic endeavor, you do feel like you need to paint. You feel like, no, I need to have a little bit more downtime. I'm burning out. If you feel like you need to take a confident approach to putting yourself out there in the dating world, right? For example, you might start a new hobby. Right? You're like, nope, I'm doing it. I don't know when I'm ever going to have time again. I'm starting this new hobby. Or maybe in your relationships, you're feeling like you have more courage now to express your affection a little bit more boldly. Maybe you're just going to be planning a trip. You're like, nope, I just need a little outing or something like that. So this is a good place to experience it during this transit. The one thing I will say is it is Venus in Aries, and used incorrectly, it can be incredibly impulsive and really competitive, and we're acting too quickly. Something shows up and I just buy it. Someone shows up and I just buy it, right? Instead, try and balance a bit of that enthusiasm with a little bit of patience, but know that you're calling to you exactly what you want. Now, on the same day, Jupiter is coming direct at 11 degrees of Gemini, and Jupiter's direct motion here in this 7th house of conscious, chosen one-on-one relationships. So you know who this significant relationship is with you, whether it's romantic, it's business, it's a mentor in your life, it is an open enemy that you have a court case with, right? The 7th house now, or Jupiter here in the 7th house, is going to start to bring this momentum to your relationships. So if you've been waiting to see if you're getting that job offer, if that business partnership is going to come together, if that internship is coming through, if that legal paperwork is done, whatever it is, this starts to bring some momentum to this area. Now, also, if you have been reconsidering a partnership, or you've been waiting, Sagittarius, where you're like, I just don't want to make any decisions because I don't have clarity in this relationship just yet, this transit coming alive and coming back online is going to provide you, I think, a lot of new insight and a lot of new opportunities to see what you can do with it. And it's because you've really searched through your own insides to see what is right for you. So I really love that. Now, when we get to the 12th, we've got a full moon happening in Leo, lighting up your 9th house space. Now, the full moon is going to ask us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. We need to adjust in some kind of way, but it is a place for a pivot. You just need to pivot. But this transit is going to bring you some clarity, and it's going to bring to an end what doesn't need to be there, and it's going to be related to all things: higher education, travel, faith, your own personal faith and philosophies, publishing, marketing, broadcasting. I think these are going to be really big signatures you see. Now, this particular full moon is also square Uranus and Taurus. So Sagittarius, the square to Uranus here for me makes me think that it's a suggestion that, yes, there's going to be some kind of unexpected disruption in your daily routine, right? In your health habits and how you do your day. I want you to be very mindful of taking care of yourself, but this could also bring like a really sudden shift in work or work responsibilities. Maybe something is an event that is really unplanned and you have to adapt really quickly, okay? Now, where I think that this is really, really good for you is that, first of all, it's going to show where you have a bit deeper insight into yourself and how you can pivot, right? It's literally, I think, going to show you the pivot. So keep this in mind as the things come up. Whenever Uranus gets involved, it's really important to stay flexible. So yes, maybe you're completing a major learning milestone, or you're having this big shift in your worldview, but then something comes along and makes you apply it, okay? So I just want to speak to that, because sometimes when these aspects, especially Uranus, get involved, we feel it way before we're super conscious of it. It's like it comes to the body. So if you're feeling this conflict, this inner conflict between, okay, here's the big picture of what I want to do with my life versus well, here are the day-to-day things that are happening and I'm not sure which direction to go. I just want you to know ahead of time so you can plan to work with that. On the 14th, we see Mercury enter into Pisces. On the 18th, the Sun enters Pisces. And on the 27th, we've got a new moon happening in Pisces. So all of this lights up your fourth house space. Now, we also want to remember that the gang is all here in Pisces, right? Saturn's in Pisces, Neptune's in Pisces, and that North Node is absolutely over there in Pisces, and the North Node and the Sun will end up coming together at a point, okay? But as this is happening, this is the time of the year where your home life gets really to the center of your view, right? Home, family, real estate, property, all the family dynamics, right? These are huge, major themes that are going to be coming to your attention. So one of the things I want to tell you is to remember, dealing with the family, focusing on your own family, comes at this time every year. So this is nothing new. This is just the time to illuminate the themes that are here. You know, what's going on in your home, what's going on with your security, how's your emotional well-being. But we do have an action-packed cast happening over here. So really focusing in on family matters, focusing in on how can you improve your living space? What is your living situation? You know, in your own personal foundations, do you feel like you have security? If you're thinking about moving, or I want to take a real estate course, or I want to invest in real estate, any of these kinds of things may be coming up for you. And on a more basic level, you may just be feeling like, I just need to redecorate my home. I need to redecorate my space. I need to spend more time nurturing, you know, myself and my home. I need to nurture my loved ones. You know, where is the engagement of care that actually strengthens your inner world? This is where your attention can be called to. Now, that new moon on the 27th is going to be a great time because you're invited at the new moon to plant your seeds of intention in this familial and family foundation zone. You know, so if this is a time where you're thinking, yes, Stormy, I definitely want to move, renovate, redefine my personal space, whatever that is, I would say at this new moon, it's the best time to plant your seeds to start searching for that new home, to commit to that family healing work, to make a financial security plan, something like that. Now, this lunation is also squared to Jupiter in that seventh house, so it's a clear indicator that a partnership of some variety plays a very key role in your new beginnings. You know, so if you're navigating a new significant relationship, and again, that doesn't have to be romantic, you know, are you going to live with somebody? You're going to have a roommate situation. That relationship shift will affect your living situation, and you're going to start making those joint decisions with your partner about your family, about your home. So look for that to come to the table. Now, on February 20th, we see Mars coming direct in Cancer. Thank you very much, right? Like Mars direct here in your 8th house of intimacy and assets is, first of all, it's going to bring some momentum forward, but the forward momentum here is two things. One, it is a reflection of new actions and strategies that you have learned during the last months of this retrograde energy, okay? And two, they are actions that you're going to take because they're more healed, but they're not your normal actions. Mars is out of bounds, so you're having to act out of bounds. You have to demonstrate that the change, the transformation, the financial, the emotional, the transformational matters, you're handling them differently. Now, what I think is great is that if you have felt stuck in dealing with joint finances or debt, or there's been something very deeply emotional or intimate that has needed your attention, this coming direct, I think you're going to see a greater space to be able to take action on it. Fear is in here as well. You know, how much fear has been coursing through your veins and your eyeballs at this particular time, all right? Now, listen, Sagittarius, I think that the world is doing what the world is doing out there. We come and we gather here so that you have a place to bring your focus. So this month, focus on that creativity. Focus on your family. The relationships are going to bring you enough things to focus on in and of themselves. And just remember that by balancing the excitement of what's coming and the changes that are happening with some stability, that I think that February can be a really powerful month for you, especially in how you'd like to express your own beautiful being. Okay, Sagittarius, have a great month. Hello, my beautiful Capricorns, and welcome to February. We're Capricorn this month. Yes, we have Mars coming out of retrograde, which is really a big deal. You know, that energy has been a lot. We've been wanting to do things, but the frustration has been there because we couldn't quite get it to move forward. But this month, we're going to start to see some relief of that. We're also going to see that Jupiter is going to come direct this month as well in your sixth house space. So there is the signature of forward motion. Now, Capricorn, you do want to make sure that you have watched the beginning of this video where I really broke down the individual transits. But now let's talk about how this directly applies to you in the general. So first and foremost, Capricorn, at the beginning of the month on the 1st, I want you to just breathe and enjoy a little sweetness. Take the first few days of February to be sweet. What we've got is Venus before it moves out of the vibration of Aries and moves into before it moves out of the vibration of Pisces and moves into the vibration of Aries, it's going to come into this conjunction with Neptune, just right there at the end of this Piscean energy. And this energy is a joining of the sweets. It's about filling your soul cup. You know, where can you, beautiful Capricorn friends, where can you let yourself be immersed with things that inspire you, that fill your cup? Communication, music, it's all communication oriented energy. So where can you let yourself be loved on and stimulated and spoke to and have words spoken into your heart and to speak them into other people as well? You know, this transit is going to encourage a lot of intuitive and creative communication, but it's about the sweetness. Now, just a couple days later, we see that Mercury-Jupiter trine I was telling you about in the weekly video. So it's really, again, such an emphasis on communication and the sweet words or the sweet listenings that we're able to participate in life. So I would really encourage you to bring some sweetness into your life in the beginning of the month, okay? As we get to the 4th, we're going to see that Venus now moves into that vibration of Aries, lighting up your 4th house space. Now, Venus is not a hustle hard planet. It's about attracting, drawing to you, drawing to you. So Venus here in your 4th house space, Capricorn, this is about bringing warmth and energy into your home, family, real estate, property. You know, Venus here is in the business of heavy stress reduction. So you may feel very inspired to redecorate, and this is not a shallow thing, okay? Moving the couch around may be the thing that actually fills your soul cup. So don't look down on it as, listen, the whole world's got problems. I can't be caring about the couch. Well, no, you can. This transit is saying something in our environment needs to adjust, and we want to create a warmth and a healthy, happy energy here. You might be feeling called to improve your relationships in your family or domestic zone, right? Those relationships with those loved ones. Or maybe you just, honest to goodness, want to create a more comfortable and more aesthetically pleasing environment. You know, so let's say that you decide that you want to renovate a room so that it feels like there's more space for more love, or there's more space for more stress reduction. Maybe you want to plan that family gathering, or you're introducing some kind of new self-care, or you're helping a family member understand how important self-care is in some kind of routine for the well-being, okay? Now, there is the shadow side to every transit. We want to be mindful that Venus and Aries can make you impatient with family members. You know, that Mars is still in Cancer, and it is still out of bounds, and it is still retrograde at this point of the month. So, you know, if you're feeling like you're getting short, or you're getting frustrated with the domestic situation, or you're feeling overly eager to be in control of everything at home, I would just encourage you to be mindful of, you know, are you pushing your agenda? Are you pushing your agenda? And here we need to just kind of back down, hear everybody's part, you know, be a little bit more balanced in this energy. Now, on the same day, we're going to see Jupiter turning direct at that 11 degrees of Gemini. Please get your chart so you can see where this is happening in your chart. You really want to see your own soul story, your own path of work that you've really been doing separate from the general. But here in this Gemini energy, this lights up your 6th house space. So as we are looking at the Jupiter's direct motion here, it's about bringing clarity and expansion to your health, your wellness, how you take care of your body, your daily routines, your daily schedule, your work, your daily schedule with work, because it's not about the job itself. It's about like, what are the daily things you do, from sending the email? How do you get up? How do you engage? When do you get up to go to the bathroom? Are you giving yourself healthy breaks? These kinds of things are what the sixth house is going to bring our attention to. Now, if you have been waiting for some kind of breakthrough in a job or a health-related matter, like that health improvement plan kind of coming this direction, I think that this transit helps to move that energy forward. It's going to start to facilitate that forward motion, so I wouldn't be surprised at all if you receive some kind of job offer. Now, whether or not you like the offer, that is not the point. The point is that the facilitation of forward movement is coming forward. If you're looking to establish that better work-life balance, what needs to happen and shift, you're digging from a well of your own wisdom now, so that as you're creating something that feels fresh, feels sustainable, maybe for some of you it even feels exciting, it's really going to be, again, about the forward motion towards avoiding burnout, okay? All right, as we get to the 12th, we've got our full moon for the month, and this one's at 24 degrees of Leo, lighting up that 8th house space. Now, for so many people, we're going to hear about this, you're going to hear about this full moon being this energy that is just, first of all, it's in a square with Uranus. So there's an odds happening here. And it's going to be like, well, you need to just tell the truth. You need to express yourself. You need to let this out. But for you, this is really Capricorn. This is a lunation of intimacy and assets, okay? So the full moon, first of all, asks us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. We are needing to pivot here in some way. And you're pivoting inside of a cycle that you have already been in. You've been here for quite some time. So as it's highlighting your intimacy, your shared assets, these deep emotional connections that you have, financial things, financial transformation, death, debt, and taxes, right? It's got all of that area encompassed. First of all, I think that you do get an opportunity to celebrate. What have you built here? What have you built here and it is working? And you get to tell the truth about it. I have done well. This is my financial status. This is what is working, right? And also, I think it's the other opportunity with all the light in the sky shown on it, where you get to have some clarity regarding a financial matter, maybe your debt, maybe your taxes, maybe an inheritance, an insurance plan, something like that. And emotionally, this can be a time where you're having these pretty intense, I think, realizations about a relationship that's in your life, or how a personal transformation has to happen in order to continue to grow a relationship in your life. Now, the square to Uranus is living, moving, and breathing right now in your 5th house. To me, this offers the suggestion that, yes, we need to expect the unexpected. That's very Uranian, right? Because we want liberation, and it kind of destabilizes things that are around us. But it is about creativity. It can be about romance for sure, but it's about the beginning or the conception of something. And certainly I put children in the 5th house as well. So for me, just for an example, maybe there's a financial discussion that has to happen with a child or a romantic partner, and it really takes some kind of unexpected turn. You're like, what? I did not expect that. And it doesn't mean the unexpected turn is bad. It means it's really unexpected. Now, what if a really creative investment idea presents itself, but it requires you to adjust? Whenever Uranus is involved, the thing we want to do is, like, to the best of our ability, right? We're dealing with Uranian energy. So it's really hard to say, don't be hasty. Don't be hasty, right? But I would avoid making any really rapid impulsive investments, or sharing your money like that, or just having, a really strong final decision in a relationship without some kind of assessment of the long-term impact, right? But this is Uranian energy, so the best I can tell you to do with that is stay flexible. Now, on the 14th, we see Mercury coming into Pisces. The 18th brings the Sun into Pisces, officially starting Pisces season. And on the 27th, we're going to see the new moon happening in Pisces. Now, as this particular point of the season begins for us, this is the Sun, and this is our stack of planets, because it's not just these three energies here. Saturn is here, the North Node is here, Neptune is here. This is a busy, stacked energy of Piscean vibration. So first and foremost, it's happening in your 3rd house, your 3rd house of communication, learning, curiosity. It is lit to the goodnesses. Okay, so this is a great time to really hone your communication, right? How do you express yourself? How do you express yourself through writing? How do you engage and listen and receive and then disseminate deep conversations? Pisces is going to have a deep conversation, spiritual conversation, intuitive conversation. Is there forgiveness in the vibration of your voice? Is there compassion in the vibration of your voice that comes from a deeper well that you are refined from? You know, is this a time for you in your life? You've been like, listen, everybody has a freaking journal, but maybe it's time to start journaling. Is it time to have that connection with a sibling? Or is it you're working on your storytelling for your media, for your business? You're working on your storytelling because you write children's books. You know, there's also a space here. I do think, I just want to say this, for maybe a short trip. You're going on a short trip. I'm thinking like something local. This is not like, Colorado to New Zealand. This is not that kind of trip. Or maybe the trip that you want to go on is you're like, I'm ready to enroll in this class because it's really engaging and meaningful to me. That would be a brilliant energy. So by the time we find ourselves at the 27th, at that new moon, it's your invitation to plant your seeds of intention all around communication, learning, your daily interactions that you're having with people or in your network, right? Mars stationing direct just here on the 20th is going to give you an opportunity, I think, to continue to practice this because it's been so much about partnerships for you. So how are you giving and receiving information in connection to partnerships? So you'll really have an opportunity to look at this. Now, this new moon, sorry to jump around. I want to come back to that for a second because this new moon is in square to Jupiter. That's in Gemini here in your 6th house space. And it made me think, okay, first of all, this is a suggestion that yes, the daily health and wellness routines may change for sure, but your daily routine, there's a new beginning coming to your daily routine, and you might need to balance what is happening in those professional demands with what's also happening with a personal learning or like a communication project you're working at. And it's so funny because I just kept thinking, okay, Capricorn, is it time for the podcast? Is it time for the content creation plan? Again, I come back to the journaling are all the signatures that I see here. So as we are going to like finish out our month, yes, Mars is turning direct and it's at 17 degrees of Cancer after a very long retrograde. Mars direct in your 7th house. It's bringing a renewed energy to your conscious chosen one-on-one partnerships. This means you know who you're in relationship with. It's the husband-wife, it's the business partner, it's the open enemy, somebody you know you're in a court case with, right? But what the point of the direct motion here is that your actions and your strategies that you had previously been experiencing conflicts or delays in, especially in your personal relationships, now you have different actions and different strategies. And Mars coming direct, this transit allows for you to progress, bring those new actions and attitudes forward. You know, you may find yourself as Mars continues to move itself forward that you are motivated. You're actually just motivated to address those long-standing issues in your partnerships or negotiate a new terms of a contract or something that you are involved in. The resentment level can maybe start to drop because you're coming at it from a different perspective and strategy. So it's really a lovely energy, okay? It's still intense because Mars is still out of bound. So this month is really going to focus on that 4th house for you. A lot going in communication, especially around those relationships. Remember, all energies have shadow signs. So as long as you're not being super impulsive, especially with communication and financial decisions, I think that February is a month where there can be some really meaningful shifts in your home and certainly in your communication connections. All right, Capricorns, have a great month. Hello, my beautiful Aquarian friends, and welcome to February. And happy birthday to my Aquarians that are on this side of that Aquarian cusp. I hope that birthday season is treating you right. I hope that you are treating birthday season right. And as we are coming into this month, first and foremost, please make sure that you have listened to the beginning of this video so that you're really getting the deep, juicy on the general energies that I talked about in those transits. But here for you in particular, Aquarius, let's look at what this month has to offer. Now, first and foremost, coming into this month, I hope that you allow yourself, not only just because it's your birthday, but I hope you allow yourself a moment of sweetness as we're coming into February. Because on the 1st, we're going to see Venus in her last moments going through Pisces, coming into a connection with Neptune. And this is about filling your soul cup. That's flat out it. It's about filling your soul cup. What do you need to feel a little rejuvenated? Now, for you, this is a financial transit, and you've got a lot of energy working in your financial area in that second house. But it's not just financial. It's also about your self-worth, how you value yourself, how you bring those financial benefits to you. But it is so much about value as well, Aquarius. So really, I hope that as you're starting out this month here on the 1st, spend the day lifting your spirit, being around and with and within the things that you value, even if it's new. Even if you're like, I don't know if I value this, go to an art store, go look at art online if you can't travel. Like, find a way to invest in your soul food at the beginning of the month, right? We need a nice place to take a sweet sip and remember the deliciousness of life. We need a place at the beginning of the month to let life surprise and delight you, all right? So I hope that you do that in the first couple days. Now, just after that, we're going to see that Mercury and Jupiter come into a trine. And I talked about this a bit in the weekly, but this is a place where communication in all its goodness is really to your favor. So truly, at the beginning of the month, bring in sights and sounds that you value, that speak to play, speak to a little romance, speak to a little something that really just lifts you up, okay? Now, on the 4th, we see that we've got Venus moving from that delicious Piscean position into Aries. So this is going to light up your 3rd house space. Now, as Venus transits here, Venus is not a hustle hard planet. Venus is a calling to me. I'm attracting to me energy. So Venus here is enhancing your ability to not only communicate, but what's coming out of your mouth. Literally think about your vocal cords being lined with charm. They're lined with honey. They're lined with confidence. So you are speaking, thinking, reading, and writing into your life. You're calling it right into your life as you are putting out your speaking, networking, public speaking, reading, writing. It's able to be received in a way that is softer and has a lot more appeal. For example, let's say you've been thinking about starting a blog, or you've been thinking about, enhancing your social media presence, something like that. We are in the digital revolution. This is going to be helpful for you to be received well at a public level. Or maybe that's not what's going on for you, and you need to have a really meaningful conversation with someone that's going to help you connect at that deeper level. This is the energy to be able to do it. Now, I do want you to be mindful that Venus and Aries can make you impatient in conversation. That ruling planet of Aries is not only still retrograde, but it is still out of bounds. So if you are tempted to just really speak impulsively, or you're going to dominate the discussion, I would just call to you, remember, Venus is in a hustle hard. It's not a go get it kind of energy. Just be mindful of balancing the assertiveness, because you get to be wonderfully assertive. Venus in Aries says, no, I want that. It's very clear about what it wants, and then it calls it to it. So balance that assertiveness with actively listening, and a little bit of diplomacy will definitely go a long way. Now, also here, we see Jupiter coming direct at 11 degrees of Gemini. So this is going to light up your 5th house space. Now, Jupiter's direct motion here is really bringing together the culmination, I think, of your learning, your internal growth and processing, because here it's about expanding in these areas that are related to your self-expression. How do you say it? Do you say it with your chest out? Are you clear? Have you gathered all the facts about the information you want to share, or the facts of the information you are retaining? It's about your creativity. For many of you, despite what the world feels like, it is about romance as well. So if you have been feeling blocked in any kind of artistic or expressive project, or you've been hesitant to move forward with it, or hesitant about a romance or something like that, I think that this particular transit does help you to move forward. Now, there are also going to be plenty of things coming up about the expansion of things for your children. Some of you may just find out that you are pregnant or you are having that baby. Some of you may have the conception of new businesses and you're like, wow, okay, now I feel the energy where I can finally publish this creative work and put it out there. I can finally say yes to this opportunity. I can finally say yes to pleasure, to not being so stressed, right? This is going to be an energy that I think the 4th brings into your attention. Now, when we do get to February 12th, we've got a full moon happening at Leo, lighting up that 7th house space. And this full moon is in square to Uranus and Taurus, so over in your 4th house. Now, this particular full moon, because it's in this like polarity for you, it brings a bit more intensity. The full moon is asking us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. We need to pivot or allow something to end at this point of the journey, okay? So here in the 7th house of conscious, chosen one-on-one relationships, Aquarius, you may experience this turning point in a really conscious chosen relationship, whether it be a personal relationship or a business partnership. But what happens as a result of it is it's a leading to a deeper commitment based on you expressing what you need, based on we're making these adjustments because the heart of this relationship needs to beat strongly, right? So it comes as a result of necessary adjustment. So for some of you, you might decide to take that relationship to the next level. Or you're re-looking over, you're reassessing maybe a collaboration or a partnership that you're in. You're like, I don't think that this connection is actually in alignment with my goals anymore. So you're a little bit more prepared to shed it. Now, I want to focus on for a second that square to Uranus in particular, since this is one of your ruling planets. To me, it offers this suggestion or this signature that, of course, 4th house, home, family, real estate, properties are going to play a big role in what's shifting for you. Whenever Uranus gets involved, we need to expect the unexpected and stay flexible. So for some of you, this full moon could absolutely bring an unexpected change in your living situation, or that family dynamic gets a little bit different. There's a shift around your emotional foundation, your emotional security, right? And this is going to influence a lot of the partnership decisions that you are making. Now, when we say unexpected, I want to be clear here on this channel, unexpected doesn't mean bad. These are not synonymous words, right? Have you been looking for information about that inheritance from a family member and it finally comes through and it is the solution to so many other challenges you've been having? This could be that as well, just as much as the instability. So stay flexible. On the 14th, we see Mercury coming into Pisces, and on the 18th, we see the Sun welcoming in Pisces season. So it's not birthday time anymore, but hopefully you had a good birthday season. And on the 27th, we'll see the new moon happening in Pisces. Now, these are not the only planets over here in the 2nd house. We've got Mercury now, we've got the Sun, Saturn, the North Node. So this is a destiny time for you around your finances. We've got Saturn, we've got Neptune. So it is a packed house of Piscean goodness. Now, for you, this is all about highlighting the theme of, yes, the material security, how you make money, your personal resources. And that's personal resources at every level. Your relationships you're in, your finances, your investments, how you actually draw income to yourself. These are all huge. But the biggest things I think are taking a bigger highlight for you, Aquarius, is self-worth. 1,000% your self-worth, and how you and what you value, your personal values, right? And how you organize your material resources shows a lot about what you value. So in this season, what you value may differ from what the world said you're supposed to value. The world might have said you need to be making $500,000 a year in order to be considered successful. And you're like, you know what? That is not my belief over here. Or the world has said, you know what? You, for your skills and your talents, are only allowed to make this much money. And you're like, I disagree with that. So during this season, organize your budget. Explore new ways to generate income through your beautiful skills and talents that you are recognizing. And if it is time, negotiate that raise. absolutely negotiate that raise, because I think during this season, especially with the sun here now, you are bringing this light, heat, life, and motivation here. So you are motivated to take ownership of your financial future. And even though this is Piscean energy and we don't always give it credit, we feel like it's very wafty, this is a great time to set those long-term financial and value goals. But you've got to invest in something that aligns genuinely with your core values. And what I always say when you get a heavy second house season is find where people need help. You want to make money, you want to be impactful and not skeevy, meet a need. Meet a need for someone, okay? Your skills and talents are worth it. And this new moon is a beautiful opportunity. It invites you to plant your seeds of intention in all things related to the finances, to the self-worth, and to your material stability, right? Now, this particular moon is in a square to Jupiter, again in that 5th house. So there is a signature for me here as we get to the end of the month that, whether it's a creative project, it's your children, it's a romantic interest, something that you need to take a risk on, it's going to have a big influence on the financial decisions and the value decisions that you make. So if you're feeling torn between, I want to invest in my passion, or I need to maintain some kind of financial security, this may be the space that motivates you to develop a new income stream where you're like, okay, I want the best of both worlds here, right? So plant your seeds of intention well. February 20th is going to bring us to Mars turning direct at 17 degrees of Cancer, so lighting up the 6th house space. Now, as Mars comes direct, it brings some momentum back, but it's the momentum in your daily routines, your health, your wellness, your work. But Mars is still out of bounds. So it is the demonstration that you have new behaviors and a new strategy going forward to work with. You're not using the same old behaviors that were creating a stuck energy here in your life. So if you have felt stuck in a job, or you have felt like you've struggled even with your own motivation, if you've struggled with that fitness routine, this transit, I think, helps you not only regain a little bit of discipline, because emotionally, you're like, emotionally, this has been making me tired. So you can get free of the resentment and now create a strategy and be able to move forward with it. But I also think that it gives you a place where it's just like, I see how to apply the new strategy, okay? So really, as we're looking at February, no matter what the world is doing, we gain and we join with each other to gain the knowledge that the astrology has to offer us on what it is that we can do. And there are some fresh starts around finances here, but you're really taking a lot of responsibility with them. Your communication is adjusting. And I think as long as you are not being impulsive or having unrealistic expectations of yourself or the world this month, February becomes a powerful month for you to have not only the evolution in your relationships, but your finances and how you express your own values as well, okay? All right, Aquarians, I'll see you in March. Hello, my beautiful Pisces friends, and welcome to February, and happy, happy, happy birthday. Happy birthday, Pisces. I hope that during this season, you get the birthday season that you've always wanted. The world is changing out there. The energies are shifting. You happen to be one of our most sensitive and empathetic signs. So I hope that as you are experiencing the world around you, no matter what's going on, you're just remembering your beauty and you are grateful for another year where you get to bring your beautiful light into the world. So just happy, happy birthday. Now, Pisces, this month, it is a little bit of a busy month, but there are plenty of times for sweetness. And there are a couple dates here that I'm going to offer to you to really still slow down. It is birthday time, but slow down and remember a little bit of self-care and taking care of your health so that as we rock and roll through the rest of the year, you are in tip-top shape. Now, it's also good news to know that Mars is coming direct this month, and hopefully you have watched the beginning of this video where I gave a really good, deep, general breakdown of all the transits so you can see how that energy is working. But we're going to look here about where it's happening in your chart for the general. All right, Pisces, at the beginning of the month, first of all, it is to note that everybody and their sister is in your sign right now. It is a very busy, packed Piscean house right now. Neptune's there, Saturn's there, the North Node is there, and we're going to continue to welcome in energies as we go through the month. So there's a heavy emphasis of what is happening for you. Who are you? The self-transformation, the self-evolution, the the discovery of self, the putting out there of yourself. It's really high on you at this particular time. But as we are coming into February, I just want you to know that the first couple days are dipped in sweetness, and I hope that you take them. As we are coming here on the 1st, we see Venus traveling in these last degrees of Piscean energy coming together here with Neptune. And this energy is all about filling your soul cup. It is about fill up your soul cup. Pisces, what makes you you? What is authentically you? What are your personal insights? What inspires you right now? Dress and move and engage the world in a way that feels like it's really, truly you, but do it in a way that just fills you up, right? Now, we're also going to see Mercury and Jupiter come into a trine, and I talked about this in the weekly a little bit. So the point is that as these come together with that Mercury-Jupiter as well, to also pay attention to what kind of content and what kind of energy you're bringing into your home. Create a home space that fills your spiritual cup. Communicate what it is that you need. Bring that music in. Let music communicate throughout the walls of your home to create a vibration that you feel delicious living in, whatever the conditions may be, okay? Now, as we get to the 4th, we're going to see Venus move out of that Piscean vibration. It's like the one thing leaving Pisces, right? And coming into Aries. So this becomes a financial transit for you. Now, Venus is not a hustle hard planet. Venus is an attracting, calling to me planet. So Venus here in the 2nd house is going to enhance and call in. It raises the vibration of your confidence in all things having to do with your finances, your self-worth, with the things that you value. So truly, if you feel inspired to pursue some kind of income generating opportunity, if you feel like I want to make a little luxury purchase for myself, do it. Do it as long as you are being smart, right? If you want to, at this point, Pisces, redefine what financial stability looks like to you based on new values that you have, do it. This is a great time. You know, if you are wanting to start a side hustle, if you're wanting to negotiate a raise, or now listen, if you want to negotiate something around your finances, this will come out of a shift of values as well. And the one thing I will tell you, if that is something that you're wanting to do, I would do it in a way where you're not just shooting somebody in the chest with your information, right? Venus and Aries can be super direct and super penetrative. So as long as you're doing it in a way that you're not being rash or you're not being aggressive, but you're being assertive, you know, balancing that confidence with practicality, I think you can get what you want here. And if it is the time to treat yourself to a little something, provided your finances are in order, I think that this is a great energy to do that. Now, we're also going to see on the 4th that Jupiter, one of the ruling planets of Pisces, is coming direct at 11 degrees of Gemini. This lights up your 4th house space. So Jupiter's direct motion here in your 4th house. This is about, you've been looking at it, you've been reviewing home, family, real estate, property, what grounds you, what gives you emotional security. And now there's this expansion and clarity to this area. You know, if you've been contemplating a move, if you've been thinking, I want to renovate or redecorate this space in my house, or I need to relook at this contract, I want to reconnect with my family, whatever it is around the home and domestic zone, this transit is going to help to move things forward, especially as Jupiter comes more and more online. So, you know, you might finally secure a new home. You're like, okay, I found it. This is where I'm going to live. This is what I'm going to do. I got the contract. Maybe there's something in terms of your family bonds. You know, I've had great conversation with family members and we're a little bit stronger. But there's a peace because it's coming from the space of internal growth and mutual, being mutually beneficial for you and the other parties involved. But it's all about that security as well. Now, on the 12th, we've got a full moon that's happening at 24 degrees of Leo, lighting up the 6th house space for you. And this lunation is square to Uranus in Taurus in that 3rd house for you. So first of all, the full moon is a time to end something, acknowledge something, or make an adjustment. Something's coming to a culmination. And for you, this is really about work, the daily routine of work, okay? It's about health, your health and wellness and the daily routines, including your mental health and wellness. How are you talking to yourself? How are you treating that? Are you taking the medication you need to? Are you taking the herbs you need to? Right? And it's just in general about the daily routines as well. So what I like here, and I think is really a strong signature is that you can have some breakthroughs regarding these areas, that job, those fitness habits, your time management, whatever that looks like. So some projects might get completed. Maybe this is where you can implement that healthier lifestyle, or at least looking at a different kind of schedule for yourself. And this is where I think it is important to look at this Uranian square, because that square from the third house gives me the suggestion that, first of all, there may be some unexpected information in this area that comes up for you, and it's a disruption. And disruption does not equal bad. It just means it shifts the information that you have, and that will affect your routine. So for you, I want you making sure that your health is on track. I want you making sure that those numbers, that you are looking at your health and your wellness, and for the others of you, if you've been working on a project and these last minute work deadlines are coming up and then a health thing presents itself, you just want to be in the CYA position, be flexible. Be flexible as we go into February. Get the work done, because you do not know what's coming down the path, but it could be something that is unexpected and it kind of throws the bus off balance just a little bit. On the 14th, we see Mercury coming into Pisces, and then the 18th is birthday time, Sun into Pisces, lighting up this first house space for you. And the 27th will bring us that new moon in Pisces. So that's the birthday gift, right? Now, as we do come into Pisces season, first of all, it's a pretty profound time for you, because it's the time every year where self-renewal, personal growth, purpose come back to the table, right? The sun brings that light, heat, life, and vitality. So if you're feeling stronger in your sense of purpose, if you're feeling stronger in how you step and stand in the world, if you're feeling more inspired to honestly take charge of your identity, how you show up in the world, the direction that your life is going, this is the season for that. It is okay now, and it is energetically sound to update that wardrobe. It's okay. It's energetically sound to say, I'm another year older. What have I learned? And how is that, how does that let me embrace a new perspective on the world and my life? Set those goals. What do you want to achieve for this next year? Where would you like to see yourself? And I hope that it is a year where, especially with that North Node in your sign, you feel inspired, and thus do so share your personal insights, right? Launch those beautiful projects, whether they be written or verbal, and you share those with us. But whatever it is, at this new moon on the 27th, it's the invitation to plant your seeds of intention around your own personal reinvention, around that self-expression, around stepping into a new role, changing your image that updates you, any of these kinds of things. Launch that project that is about your personal vision. Now, this lunation comes in a square to Jupiter, which is in that fourth house space. So it does give me an emphasis to think that at the level of home, family, real estate, property, there's going to be something that there's the influence from your home life that really plays into what you're going to launch, or how you might decide to take yourself professionally, or what kind of major renovations come in, And so if this is a time too at the end of the month where you might be balancing that personal growth, who I am, who I'm becoming, with having these family responsibilities, or maybe you're navigating how the home changes, the economy changes really impact your identity. I just want you to be mindful here that, first of all, the world is changing how it's changing. For you, you can be mindful of just setting small achievable goals, rather than needing to focus so much on exactly what the outside world is saying it has to be. So you don't have to chase a vision that is unrealistic for you, okay? All right, as we come back to the 20th and we see Mars turning direct at that 17 degrees of Cancer, fellow water energy, Mars being retrograde has been a bit frustrating. It's made emotions run high around children, romance, creative projects, feeling like I impulsively want to do something, but then I can't really get it to go forward. And Mars coming into direct motion, I think, brings renewed energy to these areas. And it is about some joy. It is about joy. It's about cutting out these moments in your day, in your life with your children, where you can experience a little bit of joy if you have felt creatively blocked. And creative doesn't just mean we're doing paintings. Creative means, like, how do you creatively problem solve? How do you creatively, parent? How do you creatively run a business? All of these things involve joy, ease and creativity. Remember, the answers come to a relaxed mind. So this is also an energy that I think speaks to that. If you've been unsure about a connection or a decision that you've needed to make, I think that this transit helps you be clearer and take strong guided action. So if it's time to finally start that business, start that passion project, or take a leadership role in your life in a different way, this transit, I think, brings that absolutely to the forefront at this time. This month, there is that emphasis really on financial stability. Of course, your own reinvention and the things having to go around the family matters. You do want to be mindful because every transit comes with its shadow sides. Being impulsive with your finances, having unrealistic expectations of yourself are not going to suit you. But instead, by staying a bit grounded, trusting that intuition, trust that North Node, you are who you're supposed to be right now. And so balance that inspiration with action this month. And Pisces, I think birthday season for you becomes not only a transformative month, but it's one where your renewal and your empowerment become evident, even if it doesn't look like exactly what the world said it was supposed to look like. It looks like what's right for Pisces. All right, beautiful Pisces, have a great birthday, and I'll see you in March.